What's going on, everybody? It's the post-fight podcast. We're back. It's been a while since we've done one. I think a couple of weeks. As usual, I'm joined by JHK and Drake. What's going on, guys?
What's up, man? Give everybody an update on you, man. There's a reason why everything's been kind of slow on this side of the world. Give them an update. Let them let them know what has been going on, Nick, with you especially.
Oh well, I had an unscheduled hospital visit, maybe 10 days ago, and then had to take some time off to recover. I'm back now though, ready to do it. I missed you guys.
Missed
Thank you for
you,
holding
man.
down the fort. Oh, that's kind. Yeah, you could see behind me, I'm actually not at home. I'm in the studio, the SCMP Towers. We're coming to you live from Causeway Bay in Hong Kong, Times Square, the heart of Hong Kong Island. And I've got the blue screen going. So they've got this, I'm kind of yellow, got a yellow buzz around me. You might see I'm not fully here. My shirt is kind of see-through a little bit. But we're liking it. Drake and John, you've been very kind about my background,
Yeah,
I'm
man, you're
gonna roll with
radiating.
it.
You're glowing.
I think that's the sweat because there's no aircon in this studio. I am dripping already. I've been in here for 5 minutes, so we have to make this one a quick show today, guys. But, no, it's good to be back. Yeah, I just had some abdominal pain. They did a bunch of tests, some X-rays and some scans. I didn't really know what's going on. They don't know either yet, so that's kind of good in a way, but also kind of bad because we don't know what's up. But gonna have a couple more scans. It seems okay. Ready to go again after what was a huge, fun show. I really enjoyed UFC 258, guys. It wasn't the biggest card on paper, but I think it delivered. We didn't do a recap, but maybe we can start with that. What do you guys think of the show? Don't all
Yeah.
start now.
Yeah, it was good. It was very good, I would say. um, yeah, I didn't have high expectations. I don't think many people did, of course, because we always have fight cancellations in Vegas these days, unfortunately. And originally this wasn't all that stacked of a card. Phenomenal main event going in, and I think it delivered afterward as well. But going in, it's pretty weak on paper card in terms of star power. Like only well, I guess there was an all right handful of ranked fighters that were competing, but usually pretty much every single time that we are dealing with a card that is bad on paper delivers pretty well, and I think that 258 did that once again. This was a very solid card, a good B plus, I would say.
I was talking with one of my friends, and this he's like one of the only friends outside of the industry that I talk to about fighting, about MMA, about the UFC, and he had a pretty interesting take on it. Is that he knew this card wasn't like the best on paper, but he watched it from the prelims just to see what was all the hype around people saying that on paper it might not look like a good card, but on when it actually the event goes down and happens, it turns into something phenomenal. And he told me that that's why he watched this card from beginning to the end, and he said this card sucked. That's what he said. He said
Oh,
this card it sucked all the way through basically, except for the main event, which
wow.
delivered. And I was pretty surprised by him saying that because he's a guy that's been following the sport for so many years, and he's like the in between. He's not a hardcore, but he's not a casual. He's like right in between, where he knows about the sport really well and the history of it, but he's not really following the up and comers or anything like that. I think if you're following like the up and comers and the prospects, you're pretty much considered a hardcore fan. And he doesn't really do that. He'll know you once you like make a statement win or do something crazy. And this card, there was a lot of decisions. So when there's a lot of decisions, normal fans, they're not really into decision wins unless it's like one of those rock'em sock'em robot type fights where they're bleeding out of every hole possible and just moving forward and throwing bombs. But for a regular fan like him, who is in between casual and hardcore, he didn't think it was so nice. But I thought that there was a bunch of good performances, like Anthony Hernandez. Man, I think that that's
Oh,
going to be one of the upsets of the year right there, and people are going to get lost. They're gonna get lost in all these events coming up, but I'm thinking like a lot of people are gonna forget this submission win because it's against a guy that was an ADCC champion, And no ADCC champion has ever been submitted in UFC history. Rodolfo is the first one, and he's submitted by a guy that a lot of people considered as the major underdog heading into this fight. But man, he dominated him, man. He had a little speed bumps in the beginning, but man, after he got going, Hernandez was really impressive. I thought that was like the performance of the night, like overall. You know, Kamaru, he's great, but I thought Hernandez, with everything going into this fight and him losing his father and all kinds of stuff, all this drama going on in his life ahead of the fight, he came in there, he went in there and just did a masterpiece. I think that this was his like coming out party for everybody to understand who Anthony Hernandez is.
Yeah, and that absolutely ruined my picks on Fanatics. I think
Everybody's.
everybody went for Rodolfo, man. Oh God, I think I lost 700 points. Something ridiculous on that one fight. I was actually going really well until that. I think the only other one I got wrong was pick Maycee Barber, I think, and for some reason I went Mallory Martin. I probably should have gone for Polyana, but I did all right otherwise. But I still came out with about 50 points. It's weird. I think I got most of them right. I got 3 wrong, but anyway. Yeah, we. How did you go, Drake, on your picks? We didn't do a preview or a recap.
I think that I think you and I tied.
Okay,
we all did pretty good. Yeah, I don't think Jasmine did the best this time for once, so that's always a plus. You know, got to take her off the top spot there. But not the worst night of picks for the SCMP boys. But you know,
I'm
we'll
just getting the app up here, so
right,
see how
Man, let's go back to that Mallory Martin fight, because that fight played out like exactly how it was going to play out in like how I played it out in my mind going into this, like looking to the future. That Viana, she's known to latch on and pull guard because she's so comfortable. And Martin, she's just going to follow her to the ground. And Viana's dangerous off her back. Martin, she's like a top pressure girl.
Yep.
But she just got too complacent. You know, do you think Drake, that it's her just being a slow starter? Because it seems like most of her fights, they're not quick finishes. They're usually some kind of adversity or just like prolonged like exchanges, and then eventually she kind of gets started and then she wins fights in like the second or third round. I don't remember ever seeing her winning a fight in the first round. And Viana, man, it was her submission was just beautiful. It was like almost, you know, yeah, like her last win was second round, rear naked choke finish. Before that, it was unanimous decision, round 3 TKO. That's when She Can't Save You, No One Can Save You came out. And then before that, second round, rear naked choke. Second round, ground and pound before that. And then a decision before that. So she doesn't have any like first round wins. And I think that kind of bit her in the ass in this fight, right? Where she got complacent on top, where she should have been grounding and pounding a little bit more or trying to pass the guard. And Viana, once you give her a chance, an opening, you know that she's going to take that arm home. What did you think, Drake? Do you think that was what was going on, or was there something else you saw?
Yeah, I agree completely with what you're saying about her being a slow starter. But at the same time, I think stylistically, this was just a very rough matchup for her, and partly because of that. But if you just look at stylistically, right, Martin's best chances are on the top against pretty much anybody. If that's her best path to victory against somebody as dangerous as Polyana Viana, who's a better striker than her, has more lethal, submission ability. She was going to have to play with fire no matter what in this matchup, and she did. And it backfired. She got burned, right? That was just always going to be the danger, was if she could avoid getting submitted. I think she could have won if she avoided that, but it was still going to be very tough. This was just a very tough pairing to make for her. And it's crazy. You look at Polyana Viana, people don't realize she's never won by decision, man. She's a finisher of the highest degree, more so by submission, but she has knockouts on her record. She knocked out Amanda Ribas on the Brazil regional scene. Like, she is dangerous and proved that we should not be writing her off. Not that we were just yet, but the UFC pushed her a little bit quick and she went on that 3-fight skid. Arguably shouldn't have lost that Cyphers fight in my opinion, but this was just a terrible matchup for Mallory Martin. And just blown away by you know, the odds makers making her the underdog. Gave people a chance to make some money because that's just ignorance, man. Nick shouldn't have been picking against Viana.
You know,
Call you
like
out.
it seems like the UFC is doing this a lot as of late, is pushing these prospects that they should build up. They should be building them up slowly, you know, like especially like a Mallory Martin. I like Mallory Martin. She's great. She's a great personality. She has the skills, just a little fresh, a little new. She needs more time to develop and work with her coaches. But she gets pushed into fights like with Viana, right? Viana, she's very good off her back. She, like you said, she's a finisher. She has a lot of experience in the UFC. Yeah, she does, right? She has pretty decent experience in the UFC, much more than
This
Mallory
was her
Martin does.
sixth fight, I think.
Yeah, 6 fights, 2 fights, 3 fights compared to 6. That's double the number, right? That's totally different, you know, bracket. You know, like people talk about tax bracket. That's a different level of experience bracket right there. 6 to 2, 6
And the
to
level
3.
of competition as well.
Exactly, right? So, you know, it's crazy that she knocked out Amanda Ribas, which
Have
I
you
would
seen
never
that, dude?
thought.
That's a clean knockout too. That was a
Yeah.
good one.
So like when I saw that she did that to Ribas, that's why I thought Marina Rodriguez was going to beat Ribas, is because of that reason. Because you go back and look at some of the matchups and favorable matchups that Ribas has kind of fell onto, you know what I mean? But that's also the UFC building her up too. You know what I mean? Why don't they do the same thing for all the other fighters? Stop putting, you know, like Martin into this position of not she's fighting a prospect that's coming in, but give her someone that's kind of similar to her. You know, someone that has 3 or 2 fights in the UFC, not someone that has 6. I don't like it. And you know, later on in the night, with same thing, Maycee Barber, same situation, right? And that one too is just like she's ranked, yes, but I don't even think she deserves to be ranked. You know what I mean? Like, who has she really beaten to be ranked that high? I don't understand that. You know what I mean, at all. But yeah, I think that I guess we're gonna segue into the next topic, which is the co-main event. Nick,
Well,
yeah,
let me just
before I
say
go
this
there,
as
I'll
well.
let you get hangover. Or
Yeah, why don't we talk? Because Jimmy in the comments was asking, do you guys think the push the UFC gave Maycee Barber is right? Yeah. So there we go. Let's get into that. Go on, guys. I realized my shirt is blue, so that's probably why it's going
Ah.
yellow on the brisket. So you guys hold the fort. I'm gonna get changed very quickly. It's this is really hot. I'm sweating so bad, but great. We'll kick you off.
All
You
right.
go. Question.
I got it. I got it. Yeah, man, I felt before the Barber versus Roxy fight, as soon as that was made, I was like, all right, they're rushing her clearly. Like you couldn't really deny it because that was Roxy, a perennial top 10 flyweight. You know, one of the I dare say elites, maybe not, but somebody who's consistently staying in the top 10. And Maycee had put together, what, 3 wins in the UFC? Yeah, sure, they were very good performances, but not against the most notable people, right? Like maybe Jillian Robertson is the most notable off the top of my head. There's JJ Aldrich, like people kind of like that. They were middling and still building their names as well. So right from the start of matching Maycee with Roxy, that the UFC was rushing her. That was too soon. And then we saw it was. Yes, she got injured, but as also that was just always how that fight was supposed to go, in my opinion. And then in this one, after tearing her ACL and then a year away, they give her another very experienced opponent. Yes, Alexa Grasso was younger than Roxanne Modafferi. But you look at, again, like Viana versus Martin, in terms of level of competition that they have faced and the experience, not even close, man. You look at some of the people Grasso has fought in her career, former champions like Carla Esparza, you know, veterans Randa Marcos, Tatiana Suarez, Felice Herrig, like just infinitely better competition faced in terms of Alexa Grasso. And just, yeah, they rushed Maycee Barber. I get why they do this kind of thing. And she kind of hypes it up, has hyped it up herself too, and was confident wanting that kind of thing. But man, like, it's okay to take it slow sometimes. Like, I think we've seen this story play out enough with Paige, with Sage. This isn't the first time we've seen this kind of thing, which is a bummer because it severely, you know, impacted their trajectory. I would say that's fair to say, seeing how things have played out. But yeah, man, it's I don't think this is the end for Maycee Barber. I really like how she came on strong in the third. I think there's still plenty of hope for her, but in terms of whether or not she's been rushed so far, absolutely, no question in my mind.
With Maycee, she actually should have been fighting Polyana Viana, to be honest with you, last weekend. I think that would have been a decent matchup for
Different
her.
weight classes, John, but I agree.
Oh, damn. I get confused because Martin fought Barber.
Right. That's right.
Before. And yeah, you are right. They are different weight classes. Barber is 125, they're 115. But for some reason, I think like every 115er, every 115er can be a 125er. I think that is just, it's just like how the bantamweight women's can be all featherweights. It's pretty much they can go back and forth if they really wanted to. You know what I mean? Of course, there could be somewhat of a size difference in some of the fights, but I think a lot of these women, they can go back and forth. But anyways, going back to Barber, if the UFC is going to push you, you got to embrace it. You got to embrace it because you don't know when that's going to come, because there's so many fighters out there that come along that are great fighters, have great records, and they get zero push from the UFC. They could win 3, 4, 5 in a row. Zero push from the UFC. So whenever the UFC decides to put that marketing machine behind you and push you, you got to embrace it. You know what I mean? Even though you might not be ready for it, but hey, this is sports. When are you ready for anything? You know what I mean? You prepare yourself the best as you can, but are you ready for those moments? Sometimes you are and sometimes you are not. And Maycee Barber is not ready for the level of competition that they're pushing her against, and it's clear now. So what we need to do is we need to step back and give Maycee Barber a fight where it's a person that has a few fights in the UFC, that has a name, but not Alexa Grasso level, not Roxanne Modafferi level. You know what I mean? Those Alexa Grasso brings in like this boxing, straightforward grit. You know what I mean? I love her style. Modafferi's more veteran savvy. You know what I mean? She knows what to do. She knows how to pick her pockets. She knows how to go in there and implement a game plan, which really helped against Barber in her fight. She needs to fight somebody, and I would say she would fight Martin if Martin was willing to just go up to 125 and do the rematch up there. I think those two would be a good fight. I don't mind that. You know what I mean? But at 125, I don't know. It's hard to say. Maybe, I don't know. Do you push her against Maverick? Do you book Maverick versus Maycee Barber? Because Maverick only has one fight. Experience-wise, Barber is going to head into her 5th or 6th fight in the UFC. Maverick only has one. This will be her 2nd fight. Do you push her against Maverick? I think that's a dangerous matchup for Maycee Barber to come back to in that fight. But what other prospects do you see at 125 that Maycee Barber can fight next? Who is it, Drake?
So I talked about this on the Body Locks post-fight show after we were done on watching the event, and the names that came up, the one I initially came to mind for me was, well, first of all, somebody mentioned to us, give her somebody brand new to the UFC, which I could see that being fine. So nobody specific, but a newcomer. Like, you don't need to get ahead of yourselves like we have so far. But for me, I thought of like, well, maybe somebody like Molly McCann, Meatball Molly, might be a decent person to go from here. Yeah, Molly's lost 2 in a row, but so is Maycee. So then you're like, okay, maybe it makes sense right there. And then we also had Ariane Lipski mentioned, which I think that's probably the move right there. Kind of really tells you where both of them are at. A very tough fight on the feet for Maycee once again, but a winnable one, as we've seen that Lipski's ground game has been incredibly disappointing. I hate to say that, but it's just true. So it's very winnable for both of them and would tell us a lot about where they're ready to go next. So that's probably my pick, would be Lipski versus Barber next.
That's a nice one. That's a great pick. Now with Grasso, right? Alexa Grasso, the Ronda Rousey of Mexico. Come on, White. Just saying them for no reason, right? Like, why would you consider her the Ronda? There's no parallels in that at all, right? None. And they just want to attach the name. And one thing I like about Alexa Grasso is that she is focused on fighting, and she just somehow has elevated herself without like getting controversial or anything like that or calling people out. She's built herself into contender status, basically, right? By just fighting who they have thrown at her and beating every single one of them. She went from fighting on the prelims against Jiyoung Kim, who was ranked, in her first fight at flyweight, to going to the co-main event of a pay-per-view against Maycee Barber. Does she have great management? Like, how did she go from that to the co-main event against Maycee Barber? That blows my mind, and that kind of shows you that maybe they're putting a little bit of marketing behind Alexa Grasso. We don't know what's happening in Mexico. Like, if the UFC's big there, we have no idea, right? I'm not in Mexico, but I think Alexa Grasso, her next fight, she with this win, Maycee was number 10, Grasso was 15, right? So with this win, I feel like Maycee's going to drop down into that 13, 14, 15 slot. And you're going to put Grasso up there at like around number 10 or 11. And I think Grasso should fight Jessica Ai. I think that's the move to make, right? Jessica Ai is like that. I don't like to use the word, but I think she's like the gatekeeper of like, are you ready for that top 5, top 7 group of fighters, or are you just going to be one of the girls that are kind of like middling in the middle, inside and outside the top 15? Jessica Ai would be a good matchup, I think. A good stylistic matchup too, because they're both of them like to stand and throw hands. But what about Daniel Cormier's comments about Grasso that she has the best pure boxing out of women's MMA? What is going on with Daniel Cormier? Like, pure boxing in MMA, does that even make sense? It's like saying pure jiu-jitsu in MMA or pure Muay Thai in MMA. Who is the best? Like, that's why we do MMA. It's like, it's not about who's the best at one thing, right? Does that make sense to you, Nick?
He says that. Who did he say that about as well? I get what he's saying. Yeah, I mean, I have no problem with that. But you're right, John. We are mixing the martial arts, aren't we? We're not boxing. We're not boxing. And you're forgetting about Ben Askren's dangerous hands. This guy's going up against Jake Paul. I think he's the best pure boxer. I've changed shirt now. So PFL sent me a swag package with a bunch of shit in it. So thanks PFL.
Literally.
Got a hat as well.
Is that a golf hat?
It's a snapback, John.
Snapback.
It's messing with my yellow screen, whatever you want to call it. And I got these comically oversized shorts. Yeah, red shorts.
Some Kevin
to wear
Smith
these
shorts
on the show one day. It's kind of like pajamas.
Yeah. Looks like
thanks to the
not
PFL. Yeah, hopefully I can get some mileage out of me wearing this shirt on this show. What was the question? Pure boxing. Yeah. Like I said, man, it's mixed martial arts. Sorry, I'm all over the place today. Do you want me to get into some comments, or do you want to talk about?
Yeah, let's do it. Well, but before we get to comments, I just wanted to say, like, last week it was like Dustin Poirier had the best pure boxing. The week before that, it was Max Holloway had the best pure boxing.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden, Alexa Grasso has the best pure boxing, and maybe that's why they mentioned the Ronda Rousey of Mexico. Maybe that's the parallel.
Kanaka Murata, I think, being the best wrestler, like the female Khabib.
Damn right she is.
What about Tatiana Suarez?
I don't know. I think they just do it because it sounds good, doesn't it? They like to hype up people.
One thing about Kanako,
make everyone sound like a dangerous threat, and
exactly. I think that's just being a promoter.
Yeah.
I think he's become the promoter. I think he's really grooming himself to take over the UFC. I think so. I'm not even joking. Like, I think that's the move. I think that's what's going to happen in the next 10 years is they're going to groom DC through ESPN and the UFC, and then he'll become the next head of the. I think he has a good reputation, and I think he'll be the best fit for someone to take over the job. But other than that, yeah. Anyways, go ahead.
All right. Okay, I'll just read off a few comments. We could talk about Usman as well, I guess. I think there was a question about Usman, so maybe I'll go into that. But Chris here saying, good to see Nick back on the podcast. Good to have you back, Chris. Hope you're watching. Hopefully we could do a preview on Thursday. We haven't done one for a while. That'll be cool. Some other questions here we could save for later, I guess. Someone mentioned my Monstars shorts. Yeah, Dylan. That's a good one. Space Jam, yeah. That's about it. Here we go, another one. Z underscore skill 29. There's a new best at something after each UFC pay-per-view card. Exactly. There's a new GOAT after each card. Yeah, it changes all the time, doesn't it? David was saying it's the women's division that less saturated. There are more opportunities. I think he was saying Thug Rose or Antonina would have been a good matchup for what you guys were talking about earlier as well. There's some questions about Zhang Weili we can get into in a bit, and Meng Bo, but let's talk about Usman here.
Yeah.
Someone asked, David as well asked, what happens if Usman loses to Masvidal in the rematch? Will there be a trilogy? I was actually thinking about this on the way to the office today. Yeah, what do you guys think happens if Usman and Masvidal rematch, and Usman does just stand there in the middle of the cage like he did against Colby? Does that fight go differently?
If I'm Masvidal, I'm studying that first round like it's the SATs. You know, that first round of Usman versus Burns, because I think Burns gave Usman the most trouble. And it wasn't even in like jiu-jitsu, it was in the stand-up, and he rocked him. He looked rocked, right? Am I delusional? I thought Usman was rocked in the first round. He was in trouble. And I don't know if he got knocked down, because it seemed like a slip, right? He got hit and he slipped. It was kind of similar to many situations where guys get clipped and then they're in a weird position and they try to get their footing and they slip. So it wasn't like a clean knockdown, but Usman was hurt, and it seemed like he was hurt on multiple occasions. So if I'm his team, I'm studying that first round. And if you look at that, and if Usman comes out like that against Jorge, Usman's gonna have a hard time. But I'm going to tell you right now, Usman is the next coming of GSP, man. I think Usman is that's how highly skilled he is, and that's his fight IQ. And he showed you his fight IQ in that fight too last weekend, where he made the adjustments, went to the second round and got the TKO finish over his teammate, Gilbert Burns. So I don't see Usman losing to Jorge. I think it's like I'm being nice, 10% chance that Masvidal wins a fight in the rematch against Usman. But if he does, yeah, I see the trilogy. Why would you not do a trilogy? It's like Dustin Poirier and McGregor. After Dustin dusted McGregor in the second fight, you didn't expect them to come back with the trilogy. Come on, like that's the only fight you're gonna make. So Usman, what is it, Jorge? That's the fight to make. I think that's the fight that you would put together for the Ultimate Fighter. Him, Usman, and Ali versus Malki Kawa and Jorge Masvidal, or the Kawa brothers. They're gonna go back and forth. They're gonna go at it. You know they're gonna be in Vegas. I think that is if they don't do that, I think the UFC really dropped the ball, man. I think that would be the biggest mistake of the year if they don't put them on tough and have them fight in the rematch.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. There was talk of maybe Masvidal and Colby being the tough coaches. What would you prefer to see, Drake? Sorry, not Jake.
How dare you?
Jake Driggs over there. I don't know.
Yeah, there you go. I would prefer Colby versus Masvidal, just because there's more history to that. I don't care at all about a Masvidal rematch with Usman. I don't see it going any differently. I don't think, there's the argument that Masvidal came in on 6 days' notice, all this, yada, yada. Usman's just too good, man. I don't see it looking too much more competitively. Maybe a little bit, but I'm not picking Masvidal on that one. I would love to see Colby and Masvidal finally have this ridiculous, over-dramatic Ultimate Fighter season. I mean, I don't even really care so much about the Ultimate Fighter season as just them fighting each other. Like, that just makes too much sense. And it's a little bit harder now because of the fact that Leon and Chimaev is not happening. And people will be like, oh, Leon seems like, that's a guy who makes sense to get the title shot next, which I would say. But then you're like, well, he's been pretty inactive, but he's still on that long winning streak. So it's really kind of weird how you sort this stuff out at welterweight right now. And I guess there's even the possibility of a Colby rematch with Usman, which I'd be more for that than the Masvidal one because it was more competitive. I just don't have any interest in Masvidal Usman again at all. Too recent, too one-sided. Give me something fresh, even though they're like all rematches, because Edwards' last loss was to Usman too. So he's just beating everybody, man.
Why, Drake? Why are you not interested, man? Like, interest. You're the one who makes
Seen
the
it
interest.
already.
Well, but the thing is, like, there would be a whole nother dynamic to it. Of course, Colby versus anybody, especially Usman or Masvidal, would be great television, great TUF, great fight. Everything would be great. But also Masvidal and Usman would be great. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it will be a different style of fight, a different type of fight. Because I feel Usman knows how to beat him. Now Usman can go in there in the second fight and kind of test things out against Masvidal. And maybe that's where Masvidal can find his openings if he can make those adjustments. Thompson, he's the next logical guy down the line that Usman hasn't beat yet. And if they do that fight, I'm fine with that. But if they're going to tie in the Ultimate Fighter, then you got to make Usman versus Masvidal because it's always got to be for the title, right? Always got to be for the title. And Colby, he's going to have to sit out because it seems like Masvidal doesn't want to fight. I don't know if he doesn't want to fight Colby, but it doesn't make sense right now for Masvidal, especially with the rematch on deck because they're promoting the hell out of that rematch right now. And it's only been a couple days since Usman fought, and Usman wants it. So whenever the champ wants something, usually they're going to get it. Either they're going to fight and they're going to do tough, or they're just going to fight. And it most likely will happen in the summer. I'm looking forward to it, even though I think that Masvidal has a very small chance of winning the fight. But whenever Masvidal is out, and he's been quiet lately, MMA is much better. The UFC is much better with Masvidal around.
Agreed. Some comments here I'll just get into, guys. Van C, what's up, Van? Saying Burns made a mistake by laying on his back and letting Usman kick his legs, in my opinion. Yeah, I agree. I don't think it
know
was
if he wanted to lay there, though.
I was going to say, I think he just kind of fell over by accident. So really unlucky for him there. I mean, guys, maybe just quickly, do you think it could go differently if Burns can work his way back up? And I think he could. He's still the next best in that division, I think. Maybe he can beat Usman. Did you see enough from him before he slipped and fell on his ass? I mean, that first 30 seconds, was it? He smashed him hard. Usman looked in trouble.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I think Burns showed that I don't think this was a bad loss for him because he looked very good in that first round. It was just, you want to see the highlight of a championship caliber performance and the highest of fight IQs. You watch this fight because that was on display from Kamaru Usman. How he stayed active enough to keep Burns down and recover, that's just championship genius tactics right there. Like he shed off like a whole minute 45 of time to get his wits back and keep Herb away from by just kicking at Burns, like, because he's in no danger really. Maybe some up kicks from a distance, but nothing that's going to really hurt him. And yeah, he took some to the knee, but like Usman's taking no damage in that case. And then Burns eventually realized like, oh shit, man, I'm really wasting a lot of time here. And for Usman, it's like, we're in the first round, man. I got a whole lot of time to work. I don't need to rush anything here. Whereas Burns just hurt him real bad. This might be his only chance, and it was his only chance to finish this guy off. So that was just absolute brilliance from Usman. I don't think that was a matter of Burns like making the mistake to go down there because he went for the head kick and then, Kamaru kind of caught it a little bit in defense and put him on his back from there. So just a crazy sequence and like the best like little chess match or a battle within the battle right there, I'd say was that moment, because if that doesn't happen, who knows? Maybe Burns gets it done.
Yeah, Usman
John,
also. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, go for it. You
Yeah,
know
Usman.
Gilbert well, don't you? You've interviewed him a few times. You know him from back in the day. I'm sure you'll know how tough that loss was for him. But
yeah, definitely, man. He's a guy that he's gonna be back. He's gonna be back. He's just getting started, and he even right after the fight, he told everybody, in the post fight that he's gonna do the Robbie Lawler and work himself up and become the champ after losing the first shot at the title. And I see him doing it. It might not be this year, but eventually he'll be back there fighting someone that is holding the title. And I think it will be Usman. I think Usman is going to hold on to this title for a while, for the next couple of years. And I feel like all the rematches, they're going to happen. Even though Usman says that he dominated all the guys, but still, I'm a believer that if you work yourself back up, you deserve another shot, right? And I think that Gilbert will do it. Colby will do it. Masvidal most likely is going to get a shot without even building himself back up. Like Wonderboy will get his shot. A lot of these guys coming up, and we'll see guys come up in the next year that are going to get into title contention, and could be a threat to Usman. It's going to happen, right? So Gilbert, he's taken a loss in stride, and you could tell how much he put into it. It was very emotional. But going back to what Drake said, man, Usman just proved to a lot of people, right? He might not be the most, like, I guess, alluring fighter for fans, but man, if you watch the sport, this guy is super talented. This guy is like, if you had like bars, like in a video game, his would be all like 10-9, 10-9, 10-9, right? Like cardio, strength, power, wrestling, jiu-jitsu. It's just all like 10-9s across the board. Like he's very close to being like one of the most complete fighters that we've ever seen in the UFC. And he's proven it because he's just knocking off all the contenders and not really giving them a chance at all. Burns is the closest that we've seen. And Usman, he did a great job of switching stance too in that fight and using the jab. He knocked him down, I think, twice with the jab. I think that's what was the ending sequence, right? He knocked him down with he switched stance, went to southpaw, threw that right-handed jab, like straight. Like he has the best straight punches, probably. See, there we go again. The best pure boxer, the best straight puncher, but he does have very like lineal punches, right? Like he's very straight with his jabs, very straight with his punches, and it's beautiful to watch somebody just using the fundamentals and winning fights with the fundamentals, because I think the jab was the biggest story in that fight, alongside, like what Drake was saying about how he was recovering while actually having his opponent on his back, which was pretty insane to watch. You know what I mean? And a lot of people, they don't get that. They don't see that during the fight. They just see Burns just laying on his back, welcoming Usman into his guard, but really Usman's not going to go down there. Everybody's like, oh, he's going to go. He's going to go. No.
It would have been interesting. I wish he did, just to test it.
But he knows. He knows. Usman knows, right? It's not, there's only so many mistakes you can make against Burns on the ground until he gets you, right? So he doesn't want to play that game. And that's the fight IQ. That's fight IQ right
there. I'll get through more of these comments. Just on that. Dakota Hancock. Yeah, when Burns on his back, he should have up-kicked Usman in the nuts when they would have reset. Yeah, that would have been.
They would have put him back on the ground, probably.
Usman using his jab was reminiscent of GSP versus Josh Koscheck. Gave me nostalgia mid-fight, says Van. Yep, Usman overtook GSP, didn't he, with this 13 consecutive wins in the welterweight division. He also called out GSP, didn't he, guys? He wants that fight. GSP is good friends with Ali, who manages Usman as well. Do you see that ever happening? Do you want to see it happen? Go with Drake first. Sorry.
I would absolutely love to see that, and I don't think you're an MMA fan if you wouldn't want to see that. Like, that would be incredible. Two of maybe the most perfect fighters that we've ever seen. Two guys who they are both very similar in what they do very well, like wrestling. The jabs of these welterweight legends, for some reason, is just incredible. Like, they can do it all so well. That would be an amazing fight. I don't think it's ever going to happen at this point, unfortunately. GSP, what he said today, that he just doesn't see himself competing again at this point. Like, and he's almost 40. He's got nothing left to prove. It would be incredible to see. Of course, we want to see that. Prime versus Prime. Oh, man, what a fight that is. Now, it would still be very fun now, but, of course, not as much luster as if it was happening when GSP was at his best. But, yeah, I don't think it'll happen. But, man, I would love it. I would love it a whole lot. I'll tell you that much.
Also, some people pointing out that GSP had a lot more title defenses. John, do you think Usman needs to defend the belt? Maybe, I mean, what did GSP have? Something insane.
9.
9, yeah. So Usman's had 3. Maybe he racks up a few more. Does he eventually overtake GSP, John, as the welterweight GOAT?
If he does go in there and break that record, snap the record of 9 in a row. So let's say he goes in there and wins 10 in a row. Right now, he's sitting at what? 3 title defenses?
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 title defenses. So he needs 7 more title defenses.
That's a lot.
So that's a lot, right? So there's You know, if he does it, let's see who he has to beat. He has to beat Gilbert Burns rematch, Covington rematch, Leon Edwards rematch, Masvidal rematch. That's 4. Thompson, that's 5. Chiesa, that's 6. And then if you go down, the guys that are coming up like Jeff Neal, Vicente Luque, Hamzat is supposedly coming up, but I don't see him fighting anytime soon. But yeah, imagine like he was gonna go for the record for 10 against Hamzat. Like that's how long
Oh
it took
my.
Hamzat after all of that hype and all of that what he did in that 1 month span.
Yeah.
And then we don't get to see him fight for the title until Usman is fighting for the record. And if he does that, I feel like and I feel like he's hitting the level of competition is much higher too compared to GSP's run. Let's just say that. You know what I mean? Like I feel like the guys that are fighting now in welterweight, and it's just going to be the reality of just the sport moving along, right? In the future, is that the level of competition is just going to get better and better and better. It's just reality. And if Usman can go out there and finish a lot of the fights that during this run of 10 in a row to break the record, I say that he's one of the greatest of all time, Usman, if he does that.
Can I tell you why that won't happen?
Yeah.
There are 2 reasons that I don't see Usman breaking that record, and it has nothing to do with his talent. If you've heard his press conference, the post-fight press conference after UFC 2, this one we just had, he doesn't care about stats or records. Like, they mentioned to him, oh man, you broke the 13 streak. You have such an amazing takedown defense, all these things. And he's like, yeah, I don't pay any attention to that stuff. How can I focus on that? Like when I'm trying to go out and do this stuff, then it throws me off kind of. He doesn't care about that stuff. And he also mentioned that he's, we see he's not super active, right? Like the Jorge Masvidal fight was back in the summertime. Like he takes his time because he's been competing for a long time. His body's been through it. And despite looking as amazing as he is, he still feels the effects of this lifetime of combat, right? So I think he will end up retiring before that happens, just because you look at all the wear and tear builds up. I don't know exactly how old he is, but 32 at least, right? Like he's if you think about the time he takes between these fights and then the level of competition that he is going to be fighting, like that's just such a tough, steep hill to climb that for those 2 reasons, the fact that he doesn't really care about the records, he already believes, he's the best. If he just keeps adding to it with, let's say 5 more even, like that'll be enough for him to feel content. I think it'll eventually get to the point where he's going to look for the money. He's going to look for the big money, which he might even start doing. The Jorge Masvidal rematch is the big money fight within his division right now. He could have called out Nate Diaz, which I'm happy he didn't. I'm very happy he didn't, but that's an easy payday for him. Geez, that'd be a slaughter. So yeah, for those 2 reasons, I think the wear and tear and the fact that he doesn't really care about the stats and that kind of stuff, he's not going to surpass GSP's records at least.
All right, got a bunch of comments and questions. I'll try and get through a few more. Wasn't Jorge versus Usman an awful fight? Says Codemade Day. Yes, it wasn't great, but Usman is promising to put George in a coffin this time. So sounds like he's chasing that knockout. So if they do that, I'm sure it'd be way more interesting, because Usman versus Colby was a fantastic fight.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so if it goes down that route, that gives Masvidal a chance, I think. So you mean he busted up Usman's nose? I know it was already broken going into the fight, but he hurt him, didn't he? And then Usman took that punch and decided, all right, I'm going to just wrestle him for 5 rounds. So let's see. A few more comments. What about Stephen Wonderboy Thompson for Usman? Yeah, I would like to see that fight. Sounds good. Tan Nguyen, what's up, Tan? Saying Masvidal hasn't done anything to earn an immediate rematch. His last win was against Nate Diaz. Is Thompson the definition of nice guy? Finished last. No one talk about him being next for the title. Yeah. What's Stephen Wonderboy Thompson got to do, guys, to get a title shot? What is he, 6th in the division? I can't remember off the top of my head. I would presume Leon's ahead of him. I think surely if we're going on who Usman, yeah, he's already fought Leon, but it was a while ago. I think you can go back to that before you go back to Colby or Masvidal if we're thinking about recency bias. But yeah, what's the case? How does Thompson get this fight? He's got to beat someone, hasn't he? I think.
If you go off merit and if you go off the rankings and you go off what makes sense for the division, then Thompson is next for the title. He is ranked number 5. Usman's beat number 1, Burns, number 2, Covington. He's beat Edwards, who hasn't fought in over 2 years, and he just recently beat Masvidal. So it only leaves Thompson next. Or if you skip Thompson, you go to Chiesa, which I don't think Chiesa. I think Chiesa needs probably one more win to be in that title talk. So Thompson is the fight to make if you're going off, like I said, merit, rankings, and just what makes sense for the division. But we don't care at the UFC. I represent them, not legally, but at the UFC, we don't care about those things. Those things don't matter unless it makes sense for us to put it together like that, right? So the UFC is like, nah, we're gonna go with what is gonna make us the money right now, and I can understand that, you know what I mean. And Usman, I think Usman also wants to make some money too, you know, like as the champion. The more pay-per-views you collect, the more money you collect, and you know, he talks about that, like how he wants to support his family and everything like that. And you know, as a fighter, you know, like at his level, he should be making $20 million a fight, $10 million a fight, but that's not the reality, right? So he's got to fight just more often and select his opponents to where he can cash out as quick as possible. And what Drake was saying earlier about him and his body, yeah, that could be, at the end of the day, that could be what makes Usman retire. You know, his body just shutting down. He just can't compete at the highest level. Hopefully that happens before he loses. You know, you don't, that's what you want to, that's what you hate to see, is a fighter that their body, their mind is there. It's just their body just doesn't hold up and it's just too beat up, and just there's too many injuries and too many things going on to where they go out and take a fight where they probably shouldn't have taken the fight. And then they realize after taking a beating or losing that they need to retire because of their body. Hopefully that doesn't happen to Usman, because, you know, you always want to see fighters go out on top. And I feel like Usman, he might be smart enough to do that. But I'm rooting for him to go for the record. I'm a big GSP fan, not a fan, but a big GSP supporter, and I think GSP is one of the best ever, if not the best ever. And if Usman can go in there and beat that record and replace GSP, I'm all for that too. So hopefully we get to see it. That's what I want to. That's what I'm looking forward to. Going back to Thompson. Thompson's great, man. Thompson's good. Don't pass him up. The only reason he's getting passed up is because of those 2 title fights versus Tyrone Woodley and how those fights played out. And I think the UFC is looking at that and saying like, oh, I don't know if we want to go through five rounders like that again, because that could possibly be the situation with Usman and Thompson, right?
That matchup is so interesting, though, man. Like,
It's interesting. I'm
oof.
not saying it's not interesting, but I think that's what the UFC is looking at, right? They're looking at that and saying maybe we should lean towards somebody else. And Hamza not being able to fight Leon just screwed up
Yep.
everything, all the plans right there. I thought that would have been a good one if Hamza would beat Leon. If he did and he faced Usman right away, that would just, that story of just Hamza, you know, going
Yeah.
from this to world champion, if he can possibly beat Usman, who's everybody considers one of
That
the
would
best
be
in the world.
insane.
It
After
would.
this performance, holy shit. Can you imagine
Yeah.
if, let's say Chimaev still gets somebody in the top 5 next, and he wins and gets a title shot, and then he beats this Usman who's looking as incredible as he is. Wow.
Just like clean. Like
Yeah.
let's say he goes in there and beats him like Jared Mershot.
Oh my god.
Like just like that, just clean knockout, just sleeping, no questions asked. Hamzat's the world champ. I would think Dana White would be in the back room somewhere, like dancing like he's Donald Trump.
Well, okay, a few more comments and questions. I'll try and get to them all, but everyone's being very active in the chat. We'd like to see it, but it makes it difficult for me to get to everything. I'll try. John KL, what's up, John, is saying the only way Usman can get into the GOAT convo with just 5 or 6 defenses is if he goes up and beats Adesanya at middleweight. Randy Schmidt was here saying Khabib versus Usman, huge final fight for 30-0. I think there was a question along the lines. Jimmy asking why do people still hate Usman? Like John says, he's well-rounded. What more can you ask for? That wasn't the question I actually wanted to get to. We can answer that as well. It's all the same thing. Someone was asking, yeah, what does Usman do if he cleans out the division? I'm trying to find it, but yeah, can you see him going up or down, guys? And should he, or should he just focus on this division?
Definitely not going down. I think he's really big for welterweight, and going up, I think that is probably or most likely the situation that's going to happen. If he does go up, I don't see Adesanya being the champion. You know, it all lines up pretty well, because if Adesanya goes up and beats Blachowicz, then Adesanya will probably just leave the middleweight division and then just stay at light heavyweight, right? Because that's the sweet division, that's the money division right there. And he's got a whole nother set of problems at light heavyweight, and he also has the John Jones fight at heavyweight. So we'll see what happens with that. If that lines up really well, then Usman can, like KL said, win like 5 or 6 title fights, and then move up and fight whoever's the champion at middleweight, which can really work into the favor of Usman, because Adesanya would probably be the biggest problem at middleweight for Usman stylistically, right? Someone that has great takedown defense and that is long and linky. Someone that Usman has never faced yet. He has never faced a guy that's like long and linky. You know, there's guys like Neil Magny. He hasn't faced guys like that. So that's when you look at the physical attributes, that's an interesting matchup. But I don't think it would ever happen. I think that those guys said that they would never fight each other. So, but words are words. We know that words are words. Like, they could say that they're not fighting or they're fighting, but eventually something happens and they could be fighting each other, right? It happens all the time. So Usman's future it's hanging, right? If he doesn't stay in the welterweight division, he'd only go up to middleweight if he's fighting a champion, right? It's champion versus champion. And I don't see Adesanya fighting him. Hopefully he stays and just defends the title. I think he could do that and make good money and still be considered one of the GOATs, because GSP never went. Oh, GSP did go up a weight class and beat Michael Bisping. So I guess, yeah, he does have to go up a weight class. But what about Khabib? He never went up a weight class. Everybody's considering him the GOAT. And you know my feelings on that. I don't think he's even close. But yeah, Drake, what's your take?
Yeah, I think that he would be a not a small middleweight, but definitely not the biggest one, right? I think he'd fit right in, but you got to think about like just the size difference from, of course, going from 10 pounds up is different, but then you get to these divisions where it's 15-pound differences, and these guys are cutting down to 185. I think he could definitely beat a lot of middleweights. The middleweight division isn't super deep, but you look at guys at the top, the Whitakers, the Costas, the Adesanyas, those guys are very problematic, I think, for Usman. And you mentioned the long, lankier strikers. Like, that's why I want to see the Wonderboy one, man. That's the closest guy you can get in his division already that he hasn't fought like that. A guy who's for sure a better striker than him. And I guess you could argue Masvidal is too, but like, we're seeing that Usman can do everything very, very well. But a guy who clearly is one of the best strikers in MMA, Wonderboy Thompson, he's got the range on him, the length. That's why I'm so fascinated by that one.
Okay, how about this? Another comment. WMMA scene now. Usman Masvidal was more boring than either Woodley Thompson fight. Yep, arguably that's correct. Why don't we move topics though, boys? We've been talking about the pay-per-view for nearly an hour now, but we've got a few other things to chat about, and there's a bunch of other questions hopefully I can get to, but yeah, why don't we go for the next big thing? Dana versus Ariel. Someone was asking in the comments as well. Jimmy, was Dana White disrespectful towards Ariel after his comments about Gina Carano? Dana White called Ariel a douche, I believe, after Ariel posted what I thought was a very well-worded statement explaining his feelings about it, and he wasn't being angry or calling out Gina. I thought he did it very well. And I think ESPN has put out a statement, or some of Ariel's colleagues at ESPN have put out a statement defending him. I haven't actually read that. I don't know exactly what it said, but it seems like everyone at ESPN is rallying around Ariel, which speaks to how popular he is and how people like him. Guys, yeah, what's the Is Dana right on this? I mean, where do you fall in the line? It's kind of one of those things in MMA, isn't it? It's difficult.
Do you think Dana even watched the video that Ariel put up, or he just saw that and just said
Probably not.
he just made it about himself? You know, because it's one of those like rivalry in sports that we get to like watch. You know, that pops up once in a while, right? Just like out of nowhere, just like pops up and yeah, it just happens, man. Ariel doesn't even have to be in the post-fight press conference, and he's being mentioned every couple of months to Dana White, and Dana White is calling him names, right? So it's just a thing that we've been noticing for how many years now. It's not something new, right? Anything that happens, Dana White's going to call him names, right? It is douche something that should be offensive. I have no idea, right? Douche is offensive. Like I think a lot of people call each other douches all the time, right? You know, it's just like a word now. It's not like, you know, nowadays, like the US and I feel like in America, like what you say and the words you choose have been under the microscope for a while now. And I think like that maybe caused some people to stir up crazy. And I don't know about Gina Carano, right? Gina Carano, my memory of Gina Carano is her getting smashed by Cyborg at Strikeforce. Like that's the last thing I remember. I don't watch Star Wars. I've never watched, you know, I've seen her like her face come out in a movie or two.
You watch
but it's
Deadpool.
Not like
Come on,
yeah.
John.
Well, was she in Deadpool? I don't even remember her being there. I remember her in Fast and Furious, this like Star Wars movie show or whatever it is. I don't even know because I don't watch Star Wars. She was on there, and I guess that was a pretty cozy little spot for her or for any actor, and she got fired from that for her comments. I don't know. I just think like Dana White, he just throws out stuff about Ariel, even though he doesn't know exactly the situation. I think like he doesn't know the situation and a lot of things that's going on, and he just throws out his opinions on that person or that situation on just what he has experienced in the past. So Dana White, did he do something wrong? Maybe. But I think it all goes back to like the insensitive comments of Gina Carano, right? And Ariel kind of delving into that. But then what about Brian Campbell when he was saying things about Asian people? That gets no play. That gets no news. Everybody's just like, where's my ESPN colleagues for that? You know what I mean? I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
It's annoying, isn't it? I don't know. Because a lot of people agree with Dana. A lot of people agree with Ariel. I just think what's the line? I mean, surely Disney has some element of control over the UFC, right? And why would you speak out if you're Dana White? Do you think Drake may get reprimanded slightly for this? Can Disney do that? Would that affect their relationship? He kind of bent. He bowed. He bent the knee after the whole thing with when they first tried to put the pay-per-view on the Khabib Tony fight in California and the tribal land. Didn't he eventually backed down. Could you see Disney stepping in here and maybe having a word with him, because it's not a good look for them, maybe, is it?
Yeah, well, they released a really small statement today. And I did read it. I don't remember it word for word, but it was like saying, yeah, Ariel, we strongly support him, kind of thing. Like, pretty much saying, not cool of Dana to, you know, kind of. People have been saying like support what Gina was doing just by, you know, saying leave her alone and all that. And I don't want to go that far and get into that kind of argument or anything, but yeah, no, I think ESPN, Disney definitely has some power considering the situation with the Tachi Palace, you know, cancellation way back when things were starting. Dana could very well be in a little bit of trouble. I don't know how much, and I cannot see Dana being an apology kind of guy. You know, I know he has apologized for some things in the past, like when he used the other F word. You know, remember that one back in the day? He apologized for that. That's going way back actually. But for like Ariel, that seems like a lunacy to think that he would say sorry about something he said to Ariel. But hey, if they're upset enough about it and he wants to keep his spot, he'll do whatever he's told. So it'll be interesting to see if this goes any further than, you know, what has happened today. But yeah, man, it's just kind of a not thinking response from Dana, I think. And it's funny because I'm pretty sure he said like he has Ariel blocked and everything. So I'm pretty sure he only saw like the whatever Ariel said like from like ESPN MMA posting something about it, which I think they did. So like he's just kind of being mean for no reason, you know. I don't think Ariel wasn't even mentioned in that, was he? Like they asked about Gina and then he's all, yeah, Ariel's a douche, you know, making it about himself, which he is a Jewish person. He is open about this and that's pretty much what his whole video is saying. So just not very smart of a response from Dana, like not thinking ahead.
Yeah, the thing about this is that when it comes down to like race and like I live in a country where it's homogenous, right? I think that's the word that's proper, right? It's homogenous country where 99% of the people are just one race. And so you don't get it as much. But in America, it's like race is a big thing. I grew up in America, so I know exactly like what people go through, and I've been through a lot of the racist stuff too growing up. So it's not something new to me. But yeah, it's just that, skipping through all of that, right? But it is just weird how he was asked about Tino Corrado and then he just jumped straight to Ariel Helwani and how Ariel Helwani was a douche, which is very interesting. It's almost like they have this secret agreement, Dana White and Ariel Helwani, where like Ariel will do something and then they'll conspire to like get him in the news somehow for something else, and Dana will just yell random things out about him. So we'll see what happens, but I don't think Dana White's gonna get reprimanded. I don't think anything's gonna happen to Dana White because Dana White's running this massive machine for them, and and at the same time, Dana could walk away anytime he wants. I would think, right? Don't you think he could just walk away anytime? He's already rich.
Oh, he's set. He's set.
Yeah, he's set.
He's
like
doing it for the love.
50 times over, and he's probably addicted to the money too. Like it's not like if he was really set and comfortable in his life, he would walk away. But he's addicted to the lifestyle. He's addicted to running a company, being the boss. He's addicted to money. You know what I mean? So it's just all comes hand in hand. And I think with Dana, nothing's going to happen to him. We won't even be talking about this next week. I guarantee it.
Yeah, probably right. Well, anything else to add on that one, guys? Or do we move on to Miley Cyrus, who was a name I wasn't expecting to discuss in MMA anytime soon? But actually, there's a few comments about the Ariel stuff, so I'll just go through those. Van C saying Ariel ruined the Brock Lesnar headline during the closing stages of a $4 billion acquisition after UFC 200 lost 2 headliners, then cried about it when he was banned. He is spineless and self-serving. Yeah, so Dana's beef with him stems from that Brock Lesnar incident, I think, right?
Yeah,
that was the nail in the coffin. He never liked Ariel from the beginning.
There was like little nails all over the coffin, but that one was like the final big one. And I think Ariel Helwani was just doing his job, reporting on something that he has sources on, and that's what he did, right? And I think that at that time, the situation with Ariel and the UFC, I think he was working for Fox at that time too. So it was kind of a odd situation right there, and then he gets banned for releasing that news. But it's one of the biggest.
Funny thing, sorry to cut you off. The funny thing about that one is though, like that was like an hour before it happened at the event. Like he was there at UFC 199. It was like kind of unnecessary, but I don't know. That's just why that one's funny to me.
But John's right. In any other sport, this thing happens all the time where you break news like that. Is the issue that the UFC and most of MMA organizations like to keep the media a bit under their control, don't they? It's all about access. If you bite the hand that feeds you, you don't get the accreditation, you don't get the interviews. UFC in particular, and most MMA organizations, it's not just them, have done a good job, right, of keeping media under control. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it's just this sport is just so new, and the media is the same thing. I mean, the media it has become somewhat of a free for all in many ways. Because the sport's so new, it hasn't been around, it hasn't been established as much as other sports. But the way that things are being done is pretty much the same way as other sports, right? You make connections, you get sources, and you try to get news. You know what I mean? You try to get the stories out as fast as possible before anybody else, and that's just the cycle of being in the media, and that's what Ariel was doing. Man, Ariel wasn't doing nothing wrong. So I don't understand. When you own a company and it doesn't go the way you plan it to go, of course you're gonna get angry at the person that messed it all up. It's just natural. I get angry at the guy at McDonald's that puts 3 pickles instead of 2 in my cheeseburger. Like, come on, guy, this is your job.
Hey man, I'd take that extra pickle.
Oh, for sure, all day.
Yeah, we know Nick about Ed's pickles. We know about those.
I ate a whole jar the other
Pickle
day.
Nick.
Pickle Nick.
Yeah.
Okay, I can't pronounce this username, but the question was about Gina Carano, but Dana attacked Ariel. Very strange situation.
I'm telling you, they have a secret pact, man. Just whenever Dana White talks about Ariel Helwani, just remember, I told you they have a secret pact.
In on it.
Talk about each other.
Maybe they do. Maybe they do. I'm just trying to see anyone else talked about that, and whether I can read the comment. Okay. Maybe we move on. Let's talk about Miley Cyrus then. Here you go. Dana makes more money for ESPN than Ariel. They won't make him apologize. There you go. From WMMA scene now. All right. Miley Cyrus, guys. I guess I should bring this up. What's it on Twitter? I'll get the images.
Just feed. Go to Julian Marquez Twitter,
okay.
and then you'll see it.
So he said after his fight, he shot his shot. I don't know how you want to say it. He said, "I want, Miley Cyrus, will you be my Valentine?" I think that's it. And then she said, "Sure, if you shave my initials into your chest hair." And then he went and blew it, didn't he, guys? He messed up. Let's be honest. He said something like, "If you tattoo Cuban Missile Crisis," which is his nickname. On a side note, that was a fun fight, wasn't? I think you made that comment, didn't you, Drake, on Twitter? Like Cuban Missile Crisis. What was the other guy?
Yeah, coconut bombs, dude. That's the nickname battle of all battles.
Exactly. But yet, this guy, he wanted Miley to tattoo that above on her torso, and then she did not like that. I think, did she respond officially? I'm trying to find.
She didn't directly, but she posted on her Instagram story, which everyone believes was directed towards him, and she said it was a picture of her like in a long shirt or whatever, and she said, "You could have this, but you dumb." Okay. This could be yours, but you dumb.
Messed up there, didn't he?
Well, I like that Julian Marquez tried to cross over a little bit and get into that pop. Is that what you call pop generation? She's very famous, right? Like, why not shoot your shot? Why not, if you have that platform? And Miley Cyrus, I believe she does watch the UFC from time to time, because I did watch her episode with Joe Rogan, and I thought that was very interesting. With her voice, she sounds like a 90-year-old grandmother that smoked 50 packs of cigarettes, but she seems like a cool girl that's been through a lot of stuff. And but yeah, whenever you can cross over, why not try? Why not? But he did. I don't know if he blew it though, because do you think that she was gonna ever be his Valentine? Maybe online, but do you think she's gonna be flying to his house and having a date with him and going to the prom? No, that's not going to happen. So really, did he lose anything? No, he didn't really lose anything. He actually gained a lot from it, because he's probably on the cover of like newspapers that he's never been on the cover of. And he's probably, it would be funny if he made it onto like People magazine, the cover story of UFC fighter blows it, right? But it doesn't matter. It wasn't like he was really trying to like date or anything like that. I think she's married, actually, if I'm right. So a little publicity, good or bad, is always good. It's always good, especially for him. He just returned from like a 2-3 year layoff and won a fight. So why would you not do it? But man, he does a podcast with Kendra Lust. So like, he's probably got a lot of things going on there.
Yeah, she was leaping to his defense in his mentions.
Oh, really?
Yeah, here's the.
Wait, who is Kendra Lust, John? I have no idea who you're talking about.
He has a podcast with Kendra Lust, the porn star. Julian Marquez
Right.
does.
Yeah,
I just wanted
should check
to
it
hear
out.
Yeah, is it good?
I don't know. I don't watch. I've never watched the podcast, but I've seen Kendra Lust before.
Oh.
well, this was it. I won't play the audio because we might get another strike from ESPN or something. But there he's saying Miley Cyrus would be my Valentine. It was all fun, wasn't it? She tweeted, "Shave an MC into your chest hair. I am yours. Happy V-Day and congrats, my love." Yeah, here you go. He mocked up this thing. He wanted that. And then, as we said, Kendra Lust here was defending him. I'll try and find her. She's saying, "I am growing chest hair so I can shave MC into my chest, Miley Cyrus. Then you can be date to AVNS next year." Don't know what that is.
AV. You know what AV is? Come on.
Is it some kind of porn thing?
It's gotta be. It's gotta be some kind of porn thing because it's Kendra Lust right there, right there. AV. I think if I'm gonna guess, I feel like AV stands for adult video.
Okay.
It sounds like it, right? Or it could be another V. I don't know what it is.
Let us know in the comments if you know.
Yes.
Yeah, that's about it for that. Anyone else have anything to say on this topic, or shall we move on?
I think that it was probably a smarter, I don't know about business move, but in terms of promoting yourself, smarter for him to blow it, quote unquote, because this is making more noise probably than if it worked. I mean, it'd make good amount of noise either way if they like went on a date, actually, if he shaved, his chest hair and all that, but that's the easy one, right? That's what everyone expected. Now he goes this route and we're like, what? Like, it's a big talking point today and all that. So I don't know. I think he was in a good spot no matter what he did, but this might have been more beneficial to people, to getting his name spread around, right?
Well, good for him. Yep. Couple people. David saying that's hilarious. It was fun. Arthur Antonio Nguyen said Miley Cyrus was never going to do that. It's good for him to get a little bit of publicity. WMMAC now saying JHK outing himself as the adult material aficionado of this team. Can't argue.
I don't know
with
if I'm outing myself. I'm thinking like every guy is an adult material aficionado in some way or another, right?
Maybe.
It's like if you're a guy that is not watching adult films from time to time, I don't know why you're even living your life online. You know what I mean? Like, why would you even be online? Like, that's like top 5 reasons to be online. It's one of those 5 reasons, right?
The thing I always find interesting is, before DVDs became huge, there were 2 types of. There was DVD and then some other thing called like HD CD or something like that. And it wasn't, neither of them dominated the market. But the reason the DVDs won was because of porn. And it became a medium for people to watch porn. So that's just an interesting tidbit I have in my head. Porn always makes things popular. And yeah, so John's absolutely right. The internet is what it is. Okay, our other topic we had here, Stefan Struve has retired. I don't know. It wasn't a great segue into that. From porn to Stefan Struve. Okay, his nickname is Skyscraper. Maybe that's some kind of.
That's a porn video name right there.
Yeah. That's a porn nickname if ever I heard
exactly,
one.
the Skyscraper.
The Skyscraper. Yeah. No, all jokes aside, Stefan Struve sadly retiring because he has had some medical issues. I think with his ear, took some damage on it. It was already damaged during his last fight, and then it seemed to make it even worse. He was suffering vertigo and things like that. Health always comes first, doesn't it, John? And he's made the right decision, I think.
Oh, he definitely has made the right decision. I was just looking back at his record, and he made his UFC debut in 2009 against who, Drake? I'm testing you today.
His debut, Stefan Struve. That was
2009 UFC 95.
right when I became a fan. Oh, that's a tough one, man. I
And
have the
he
name.
was knocked out in 54 seconds.
Struve was, or the other guy?
Yeah, Struve was.
I don't know this one.
JDS. It was JDS.
Oh, that was his debut.
That was his debut, man. And another one that I have for you and Nick is, what is his biggest moment, do you think, of his career? Was it the knockout over Stipe Miocic? Was it the Antonio Bigfoot Silva knockout in 15 seconds with the elbows? Or was it Skyscraper, the newest addition to AV Films?
I was waiting for that. I was like, what? I think it has to be.
The lasting thing with Stefan Struve, I think, is a sad one for me, because I remember being in Manchester for Bisping Henderson 2. I was there live working for ESPN. It was my first MMA event I ever covered as a journalist, and Struve was on the card. I can't remember who he beat, but he got a Darce choke, I think, in the first round. The guy was super short, and it was a comical mismatch of sizes.
Oh, yeah.
I think, maybe Drake remembers.
Pat Barry.
There you go.
No, that wasn't the Barry fight.
No, it wasn't. It was, yeah, let's have a look. Anyway, but
DeLima, maybe. It might have been DeLima. I don't know.
Well, yeah, that was just the thing is, everyone around then was saying, after he got that win, he was kind of back on track, and people were thinking, this guy is going to be future heavyweight champion. Just look at the size of him. There's no way he can't be. For me, there's a slight sadness about his career. He didn't live up maybe to that potential. I mean, should he be sad he didn't? Am I being unfair, guys? Should Stefan Struve have had a better career than he did? And should he feel sad maybe he didn't achieve more after especially beating Stipe Miocic?
Well, absolutely. I mean, the guy's 7 feet tall, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's a massive man, and arguably was more skilled on the ground, at least in some fights. Like, he was solidly well-rounded. He could just never figure out how to utilize these gifts of, length that he had, except for maybe a fight or two. Like, I remember the Nogueira fight was probably one he used it a little bit better. We're like, oh, is he finally learning after 30 fights or so? But yeah, it was a very overall disappointing. I hate to say that. I hate to say it was a disappointing career, but
Daniel Omilanchuk.
Right.
I pronounced that right.
Yep, nailed it.
Darce choke in the second round. Sorry.
Yeah,
anyway,
that was a good one. Yeah, he had all the tools to be a lot better than he was, and he was consistently exciting. Though I will say that, always a fun guy to watch, I thought, and it sucks to see kind of how things went. Really, he was always a fun guy to watch, just to look at him. Like, man, this guy's so big compared to everybody. But yeah, I think it's fair to say that we should have probably seen more success for Stefan Struve. But in terms of highlighting something, I do want to mention one that always sticks out for me was that crazy Christian Morecraft comeback that he had at UFC 116. I'm going to test the memory on that one. 17, when Chael and Anderson fought. That was the same card. Crazy fight, kind of personified Stefan Struve's career a little bit, that one, and is always one that's fun to go back and watch. But some very good moments, obviously knocking out the future GOAT, getting knocked out a lot and on highlight reels, but it is what it is. Stefan Struve was always fun to watch. I'll have good memories of watching him, but yeah, didn't quite meet the potential he should have.
He almost peaked too early, like if you look at his
Right.
best run in the UFC, it was like, he had that JDS fight. He won 3 in a row, lost to Roy Nelson, won back-to-back fights, lost to Travis Brown, and then he went on this 4-fight run that was incredible, which was Pat Barry, Dave Herman, LeVar Jackson, and Stipe Miocic. All of those wins by finish, all
He
within
looked
the
awesome in those
second round. Yeah, it just looked incredible. At that time, everybody was like, oh, Stefan Struve, he's the new heavyweight. He's young. Remember, back then, there was no young heavyweights. He was like the only young guy that was coming up. And then it's just like, I feel like that's after the Stipe fight. I feel like that's when his health issues probably started to blossom. You know what I mean? And if you look at his record, it shows it. You know what I mean? He did have the back-to-back wins against Silva and Omilibika, whatever that his name is, Daniel. And and after that, after those back-to-back, it was just like he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fights, and he was 1-5 in his last 6 fights. He fought the best of the best, though, man. Look at the names, dude. Like, he's fought like Rothwell, what is it? Arlovsky, Volkov, Silva, Nogueira, Overeem, Hunt, Miocic, LeVar Johnson, Pat Barry, Travis Brown. Man, like JDS, Paul Bontello. He beat Paul Bontello. If you know some MMA, you know Paul Bontello. Like, he beat him. Roy Nelson too. Like, he fought him too. Like Struve, he might have not like reached the potential of what a lot of guys expected from him, but I think his body failed him, and then at the same time he peaked too early. Like, he jumped in too quick with the big guys, and I think a lot of those wars caught up to him too. That maybe the damage caught up, just like cerebral damage.
Yeah, crazy to think he's been around for so long in the UFC.
More than 10 years.
His debut, yeah. Crazy. I didn't even know that, but
doesn't age. He looks the same as the day he came in.
Yeah, he does.
Arthur, we got some comments here about Struve. I'll just get through a few of these.
Stoyanich, that's who I was thinking of.
Struve's biggest moment is beating Stipe. It's great. Let me just switch the screen again. Which one do you want, guys? Here we go. We'll do that. Stefan Struve is basically lost pawns. There's more pawn references. I keep watching him, expecting him to lose and feeling bad when he does lose. Yeah, Struve. Dylan saying not his biggest name value in it all, but I enjoyed the manner in which he finished LeVar Johnson. Just a thorough performance. Van says Struve was able to get the momentum he needed was never able to get the momentum because of health concerns, like John said. Everyone expects him to be champ. So many what ifs with that guy. Hope he finds peace. Jimmy saying, man, Stefan Struve, Joe Rogan used to mention him and Stipe back in 2015, along with John Jones. Fight out either of them. LOL.
Also, another thing is, I just mean to cut you off, but another thing about Struve is he was always moving around too. Like, he was always going to this camp and to this camp. He never really had that core group of coaches that he stayed with for a long period of time. From my recollection, maybe I'm wrong, but it always seemed like that he was going back and forth from Europe and the US training. And it seemed like he did have something with Henry Hu for a while at Black Zillions, but after that, he also went to another place to train. And he was just all over the place. And sometimes, guys do well in that kind of environment where you're always changing everything and it keeps you fresh. But most guys that are champions, they're sticking with one coach and they're sticking with like their main guys to push them into that championship caliber status. And I don't think Stefan Struve had that around him. Maybe he didn't have the right people around him too.
Yeah. But yeah, go check out he's got the explanation for why he's retiring on his Twitter. Quite a lengthy statement. I won't bore everyone with it, but it's basically this inner ear issue, I think, making it too dangerous for him to fight. Z, all right, yeah, there were some questions about Zhang Weili earlier.
Z was going crazy, right?
We never got to him.
We've got our topics out of the way, so we can do a bit of freestyling now.
Exactly.
Z, I'll try and find your question about Zhang Weili. Does anyone remember what he was saying if you saw it in the comments?
There was a couple.
I think it was all tied in with like Jan and the top
Meng Bo references.
There's one right at the beginning. Is this the one, Z? Let us know. Did Zhang Weili deserve the hype Dana is currently giving her, especially booking her next fight in Asia?
Well, that's the market. You know what I mean? Like, it's a business. So you want to promote the fighter that is going to be the biggest star in that market. And why would you not push Zhang Weili to be the headliner, to put on a card in Asia? the first one outside of Vegas and actually the first one outside the US and Abu Dhabi. So why would you not put your money behind Zhang? And there must be a reason that they're doing it too. They must have some kind of contractual elements with something in China or something in Asia. Something's going on. There's never anything that's just like, oh, they're just doing it because they feel like doing it. No, there's something going on in the background. And also during the scrum, it seemed like Dana White was kind of admitting in a weird way that UFC 261 will be in Singapore. Did you watch that scrum ahead of last week's pay-per-view? He was talking about some of the matchups and talking about Asian fighters, and he was talking about like if we do a card out there, we're going to stack it with Asian fighters just like how we did in Abu Dhabi, which is a complete lie because Abu Dhabi didn't have many what do you say, like what is it, how do you Saudi Arabians or like Middle Eastern fighters? How many Middle Eastern fighters did you see on the Abu Dhabi cards? Probably less than 10%, right? Less than 5% of the fights that went on. So I don't understand why he said that. But he did say something about Asia, though. Did you guys catch that post-fight? Or not post-fight,
I was
pre-fight?
kind of still loosely doing work, a little bit of work, but not taxing myself too much after my hospital nonsense. So maybe Drake saw it. Drake.
What about Drake? Drake, you were in China.
I was in China at a time. I didn't see him mention the pay-per-view event, but I saw him say pretty much confirming that they're gonna go to Singapore. I mean, he didn't confirm it, but he said it like it's happening. I didn't hear anything about the pay-per-view though. So
exactly. He said it like it's going to happen, right? Like,
yeah.
I'm surprised nobody that was sitting in press row asked him like, is UFC 261 happening in Singapore? I'm very surprised that nobody, because usually they're good at that. They're good at asking like dates and fights and all that stuff, but they didn't delve into that. It almost seemed like they don't care. But if you look at the card that they have for 261, there's two big fights already lined up for that 261 card in Singapore, and I hope it is in Abu Dhabi, or it is in Singapore, man. I wonder how we're gonna get over there. Yeah, Weidman, Hall, Smith, Crute, and then they just added the Mongolian, the Baccarel.
Baccarel, okay.
Yeah, Baccarel, and for 261.
Hey,
so
John, if it's in Singapore, we gotta go. I'll quarantine for that. I'll do that.
Yeah, me too. And it's gonna be end of April. That's not bad, right? But we gotta find out first. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
we need to look at the connections inside the UFC to find out if this is really happening. Like I gave you what information I had from my sources. Now we just need to confirm it somehow, and that's what they didn't do last week.
I asked, and I got the official response was there is nothing to say. No information. Another thing from Z here about Weili. Why is Weili always overlooked by most media members? John Eric Paul, John Ralejo, Ryan Campbell, Brendan Schaub, just to cite a few examples. Is she overlooked?
I don't even listen to John Eric Pauly, and who's John Ralejo? I don't even know who that is. Brian Campbell, I rarely listen to what he says. Brendan Schaub, I never listen to what he says. So, like, if you're watching these people, like, especially like Brendan Schaub, I don't know how you're getting your MMA information, man. Like, Brendan Schaub would be like at the bottom of the list. It's like, remember when I talked about earlier, like, there's top 5 reasons of having the internet, and porn was one of them. Like, Brendan Schaub would be the bottom 5 list of having the internet. Brendan Schaub would be at the bottom 5 of like a gazillion reasons, right? So please, Brendan Schaub, I guess he's funny to a lot of people, but he's just not my cup of tea. But yeah, like, the reason why they don't mention her is because they don't know much about her, I guess, and they don't really follow Zhang Weili as much.
I mean, Jimmy,
it's also been a while, unfortunately.
Why does Paige Van Zandt get more hype than Zhang Weili? I guess
Jimmy, no kudos to you. That's a pun on your name, right? Come on. There's a reason why Paige Van Zandt gets more hype than Zhang Weili. Don't you know why? Come on, man. Come on, Jimmy. We know. We don't even have to say it here. Like, and it's not like it's a secret. Like, everybody knows that Paige Van Zandt can sell anything. You know what I mean? Like, she can sell anything, and she speaks English. She's on Sports Illustrated. I don't think we're gonna see Zhang Weili on Sports Illustrated anytime soon, right? So like stuff like that, swimsuit edition, like there's a reason why she's on there. There's a reason why Paige Van Zandt gets the hype, because just look at her, right? And she can fight. If Zhang Weili can, like, I guess if she learns English more and gets more fluent at it, and then and is able to go out there and do more media, then she could grow into a much bigger fighter and continue to win in the UFC. But other than that, man, it's going to be hard to compete with the popularity of Paige Van Zandt. She's been in the mainstream media many times.
By all accounts, though, I think Weili makes a lot of money, and she's very popular in China. So I don't think she's upset or jealous of Paige Van Zandt in any way. They're different fighters. They're completely different, and nothing's wrong with either of them and the way they do things.
Exactly. Like, why are you comparing the world champion to someone that doesn't even fight in the UFC anymore and actually fighting bare knuckle boxing and just recently lost? There's no comparison. You know what I mean? It's just like whoever the people that want to promote or sponsor somebody, that's what they're looking for, and they see Paige Van Zandt as a more marketable person, and I understand that. I understand why they want to do that, because it's in America. But if we're in China, would you have Paige Van Zandt or Zhang Weili promote your company? I say we get both of them. You know what I mean? Like, let's just be real. Okay? But
can they fight each other?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They could fight each other for the sponsorship.
It could be on the same card as the Leech against Conor McGregor.
You said it, not us.
I can't go into too much detail on that one, but anyway.
Exactly, that is in the works for sure for Macau.
Just will point out, I had nothing to do with that. I was off.
You heard it here. The Leech versus Conor McGregor, Macau, November. I'm telling you right now. You heard it here first.
I'm hopping on the ferry over, and gonna have a flutter in the casinos, and gonna head to McSorley's Irish Bar in the Venetian, have a pint of Guinness in honor of Conor McGregor,
and not even go to the fights.
Not even go to the fights.
Right.
Exactly. You just be drunk. Just slobbering at the
Conor's Irish Army, heading over to Macau, to the Special Administrative Region, Macau.
And you just blend in with the crowd, with the Irishmen.
Exactly.
And all of a sudden that you ended up in Conor's hotel room somehow after the fights, and you get the biggest interview of your career, drunk.
I have actually met the Leech in Macau. He was at the Legend FC show that Audi put on about a year ago, December 2019. Interviewed the Leech there. He loves a bit of Macau. He's a crazy man, really cool dude. But I don't think he'll be fighting Conor McGregor anytime soon, as this article by one of my colleagues suggested maybe should happen. I disagree with that idea, but we all have our opinions. John KL asking about Victoria Lee, Angela Lee's sister, 16 years old, will be making her MMA debut, her one championship debut as well, against Sinisa Srisen. John saying, I think her opponent is way tougher than Angela's debut opponent, Egyptian top team. Yeah, how do you think? Is this a good test of Victoria's level? I think Sinisa has lost to Denise and Stamp, was it recently? So maybe it's a good gauge of where Victoria's at in that division.
Drake, you talked to her. You should know more than anybody.
Yeah, I'm going to talk to her tomorrow, guys. I think so. I'll have an interview and we can ask her about this all. But Drake's already done it. So what's the chat, Drake?
Yeah, I did speak to Victoria last week. Just for this question in particular, I don't remember who Angela's debut opponent was, but yes, Sinisa Srisen only lost to Stamp. I don't think she fought Denise unless it was in amateurs or something like that. But
check this out.
But yeah, no, this is a very
I think so. But that's maybe not the hardest fight.
Right. Yeah, in terms of an experienced opponent, with a decent number of fights anyway, Sinisa is definitely one that kind of surprised me for Victoria Lee's debut. And it's so hard to kind of predict what you're going to see from somebody who we haven't seen fight before, especially against a pro with 5-6 fights. And Victoria Lee, though, she is coming from one of maybe the most talented families ever in mixed martial arts. The Lee clan, which they're all under 25 and world champions for the most part. Christian and Angela anyway, making some history of their own. Victoria, I
Adrian
see.
as well, the little brother. He's coming.
Right, yeah, I know. There's more on the way.
And there's a baby Lee about to be born.
Yeah, there's
baby
it's
Angela.
gonna be the Lees forever.
Christian's got a baby on the way as well.
Yeah,
Oh,
the family.
They have a cousin. They have a cousin too coming up. His cousin's name Bruce Lee.
Bruce Lee.
Bruce Lee.
Maybe
the
they're
fourth.
just trying to win every belt in one. They could have someone in every division.
Yeah,
The
definitely.
cousin is Bruce Lee. He's on the island, a different island, on the island of Maui, and I guess he has his own little setup over there. But he's a light heavyweight Lee, Bruce Lee.
There we go.
I can't tell if you're being serious or not.
Yeah, I can't either.
Got me fooled though. But I see you in the comments there, Arthur. Is Victoria Lee a grappler or a striker? From my knowledge, she seems pretty well-rounded in terms of what she's been working on. A world champion in pancration. Has done some striking arts as well. I'm totally blanking on what she has done specifically, but an IMMAF, MMA champion, which that's some amateur league stuff too, I believe. Yeah, she seems pretty well rounded, and it's hard not to think that she'll be half decent just because of who she's related to and working with. Of course, not physically working with Angela at the moment, at least at 100% or anything like that. But Christian has been helping her a lot, of course. So it's very a compelling thing, to see a 16-year-old come in, which is also the same age as Christian. I didn't realize that he was 16 when he debuted as well, but they just like to start early, and it's worked out for them. So no reason to think that it won't again. And I also want to touch on a comment that happened earlier. Don't know where it is for you, Nick. Sorry, but somebody said if Victoria wins, will they try and put her into that atomweight tournament? And that would be shocking. That would be absolutely shocking and a little bit of a disservice to her. It goes back to our Maycee Barber talk from earlier. Let's not rush Victoria Lee whatsoever, especially considering her sister is the champion, and there's no fucking reason to do that whatsoever because they're not going to fight. I asked her that. You guys can go check it out. The interview is out now. Shameless plug on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Drake Riggs. But she does not care about breaking the record for youngest champion ever. She doesn't want to compete for her sister's things, wants to go the path, create their own paths of sorts. So it's very interesting how they are both atom weights, and Victoria getting started now where things are heating up a bit at the top for Angela. I would only imagine that if Victoria can work her way up to get close enough, Angela will end up jumping out of the division, which doesn't seem crazy. She's already fought, up a weight already. So there's just so many question marks about Victoria Lee getting into the mix, but we'll see how it plays out, right?
Yeah, Fist of Fury next week, right, guys? Isn't it her debut?
I think so.
Yes, I thought we already had Fist of Fury. I thought we already had that. Wasn't that a name already, or was it Fist of Fury? And then now it's Fist of Fury, right? Like you just switch it up like this. But anyways,
they have the
Angela
name generator, man, and I guess it's just finished making weird titles of different words, and it's come back full circle to Fist of Fury. So.
Well, when Angela, when she debuted, her professional debut was with one championship. Is very similar to Victoria. It was a different promotion. It was a different organization. It was a different division. Angela was much more experienced than a lot of the girls that were in the division at that time, and just skill wise, probably ahead of a lot of the girls, 99% of the girls at that time. Now that atomweight division is completely different. The level of competition is much, much higher. There's so many different styles that you can choose from with matchmaking and everything that's going on. I feel like this is a good matchup, but still dangerous enough to where you're not giving her give me fights, because if you look at Victoria Lee, she has been competing for years and years, just coming up on the amateur circuit. So it's not like she doesn't have that experience. And also they're going to be fighting in basically an empty arena where there's maybe a couple hundred people there in this big arena. and that will help her. She doesn't have the pressure of like this massive crowd just screaming and yelling for her or her opponent or whatever. I think that's going to help her like kind of ease into the pro ranks. But this is a losable fight for Victoria Lee. And if she does win this fight, and I feel like the path to victory is very simple, you just take her to the ground and wrap the neck up. And I think that's what she's going to end up doing in this fight coming up against Thunderstorm. Thunderstorm, she has experience against the best girls, but I think she's just too not versed enough on the ground to beat Victoria Lee. I think Victoria Lee is just much more better on the ground. We don't know for sure because we haven't seen her in competition yet, but I feel like she's good enough to beat her on the ground. Just submit her real quick and then move on to the next one. Yes, I hope they don't push her so fast. I feel like they should. How many fights did Angela Lee have before she fought for the title? She has like
She was
1,
like 7-0
2, 3,
maybe.
4, 5.
She had a lot.
5 fights.
Oh,
she had, and then she fought Yamaguchi for the title, right? So 5 fights is good enough for me, man. I think she should fight 5 girls that are young and that are probably have like crazy records, like 5-12 or 12-2, or not 12-2, but like 5-12 and 7-7, or like she should fight those types of fighters in her first 5 fights, and then after the first 5, if she clears out that, runs the table, then you push her against somebody that's up there, like a Jenny Huang, right? Eventually, that's what she'll have to end up fighting, a veteran like her. But Victoria Lee, I expect big things out of her. When you look at siblings, especially the younger sibling, that's just natural, right? It's just natural. You're just you expect more out of them than their older brother or sisters. So
yeah, and Angela said herself, she's better than I was at that age.
Yeah, and I think you could see that too.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait to watch it. Drake, a question for you from Arthur. What do you know about Itsuki Hirata's opponent next week? She's 3-3. Is this a layup or for Itsuki, or will it challenge her more compared to previous opponents? Who's she fighting? Let's have a look. I can't remember the name.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know who she's fighting.
She's fighting in Japan somewhere. Like, it's not even a one championship card.
Oh, it's a road to one.
Yeah, road to one.
Okay,
so what they're doing
Miku Nakamura, who is 3-3, as Arthur pointed out. Yeah, I don't know anything about her. Drake may know. Drake knows everything. So
no, you're stumping me on this one this time, Arthur. So I do not know much about her. I might just be blanking on the name. That kind of happens sometimes for me with these Japanese prospects, just to be honest, you guys, or the fighters on their way up. But I will get back to you on this. I do not have anything knowledgeable to say at the moment, but I'm interested to see Itsuki, back in the mix here. Miku Nakamura, okay. So 28. Yeah, I don't know, not jogging the memory just yet, but let's see.
Does this she
Furusawa? Okay.
Here?
Shuto. Yeah, she fought Furusawa. Okay, that was at the end of the year. Sugimoto. So her losses are to people she should have lost to. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
Maybe not Furusawa, but I do recall that one. I mean, it'll be interesting. It's not a total layup, but again, this is a fight that Hirata should win. That's what is coming to me right now.
It's just like when Denise Zamboanga fought that one girl. It's just that's the one it's just like a warm up. These are like warm up fights, or what will you call these? Are these called warm up fights where they're just trying to stay busy? Yeah, tune-up fights. We're trying to stay busy, trying to keep sharp. So they take these fights because it's difficult to travel, especially under these circumstances. So I think that's good for one. You know what I mean? You add on to their records. You keep them busy, get them paid, and eventually when it's time to open it up and start this atomweight, smorgasbord of a Grand Prix, everybody's ready to go, right? Has anything really backfired for them in any of these matchups? I'm thinking that something did recently. No, actually, I was thinking Meng Bo, but and Stamp too, right? But the Stamp would be a story where they didn't do that for her, and that's kind of weird, right? I would think that if you're gonna do that for anybody, it would be for Stamp.
Right.
You know, like this girl that they matched up with, she has real deep experience, man, against like the highest level opponents. And it's very odd that they put
The
that.
only thing was the inactivity with Rousey.
Yeah.
That was like the only thing about that.
Yeah, and
But
Stamp was winning that fight. Yeah, what about that controversy of Stamp? You know what I mean? What does that do to her? Nick, you would know. Like, what does that do to her, that loss that she just suffered, you know, in the with like
Dude,
10 seconds left?
I was literally in
one.
hospital.
There was
I
1 second.
Oh, 1 second left, whatever. Yeah.
I wasn't even watching. I was just following it from texts from you
Yeah,
guys.
but the thing is, like, what do you do with her now? She's lost, and can you go into a tournament with a loss?
Book the rematch as part of the
Rematch.
tournament.
Yeah, I think one was pushing out the tweets to try and make it seem like it was really controversial. Did she tap? Maybe do a rematch. Let's make it clear. They may as well. I don't think either's got much else on to do. Looks like this Grand Prix is not going to happen for a while. I don't think it's going to be up and running till, if it does get up and running, till the summer. They seem full steam ahead with the TNT stuff, and there seems to be no place on those cards for that. They're already looking really stacked. So why not? If you're Stamp, she does need a win, I think, to go. If they do the tournament, she's going to have to come in off a win. It's been a horrible, horrible last 12 months for her, though, hasn't it? I think the only fight she won was a layup, against Sinisa. She lost both of her belts, kickboxing and Muay Thai. And then the first, I think it's fair to say this is the first, tough opponent she's come up against in MMA. She lost, and it was a pretty bizarre loss. She's insisting she didn't tap out. John saying Nick is a Stamp enthusiast. He was upset with Rodtang when they broke up. This is true. I texted John about this. I was sad. I love Stamp. I love Rodtang. Both of them, and I thought they were the sweetest couple in combat sports. It's a sad thing.
Jimmy,
over.
hey, we gotta talk about Jimmy Kudo. He's going off like about Zhang Weili and I just want to say something to Jimmy, we're not saying Zhang Weili is not marketable. We're just saying that Paige Van Zandt is much more marketable than Zhang Weili, especially when you look at the market. Like if you look at the US market, if you put Zhang Weili and Paige Van Zandt next to each other and say who's going to be more marketable for the USA, for North America, it's clear 100% it's going to be Paige Van Zandt, man. It doesn't matter what she's done in fighting. It's just you're selling a product, right, for the market. That's who you're going to put up. If you're in China, you're going to put up Zhang Weili because, of course, she's a champion. You know what I mean? Like, she's a good role model. Like, all these things come into factors in different markets and different cultures. Does the U.S. really care about who's the best role model when they market stuff? Drake, you tell us. You're in North America. You're in the U.S. Do they really care about that at the end of the day?
Do they care about what specifically?
Like if you're a good role model for kids, to market their products.
No, man. Look at who the number one star is, Conor McGregor. And I guess you could look at Ronda too, but even then she had more of an attitude side to her. Yes, she inspired, little girls. There's proof of that, but that wasn't like, I don't think that was the focus. It just happened,
Exactly.
I mean, they don't even, you can't even, Usman's not even marketable right at the moment. He's must be the most unheralded fighter in UFC. Think about it. He's arguably he's top 5 pound for pound. He's probably going to go up top 4. They can't even market him. I'm not saying Zhang Weili should be more popular than she is in the US, but sometimes it's not easy, and she's not a trash talker. There's just some people who you gravitate towards, right? Like Adesanya, he's got that star quality. Other fighters can build up that level of support through their resumes. I think that's what Usman's going to do, and it's what GSP did, and it's what Zhang Weili's going to do. She'll always be respected, but she's not going to be Conor McGregor. She's not going to sell 1 million pay-per-views in America. She's always going to be, I think if they do a pay-per-view in America, she'll be, bunched with another title fight or 3. They like to do that sometimes, like they're doing next month. I don't think she'll ever headline a pay-per-view in the US.
It's just reality, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's just reality. Like it's not gonna happen, and if it does, it's gonna take, like you said, someone like Connor, who was basically born to do it. You know what I mean? Like he was bred and born, like it was inside of him. And some people
Jimmy's
just
just
don't have
thinking,
it. Like if we were gonna go off like credentials and like being a role model and just, I would think Stephen Wonderboy Thompson would be one of the biggest fighters in the world, right? Like who doesn't want their kid to be like Stephen Wonderboy Thompson? If you have a little son, you want someone that's respectable, polite, nice. You know what I mean? Like that's the stuff that you want your kids to emulate. He's not being marketed like a Jorge Masvidal. Look at Jorge Masvidal. When do you have you ever said, I want my son to be like Jorge Masvidal? Never, right? I don't think you want that, but he's entertaining, and that's what like these companies that sponsor fighters, that's what they want. They just want you to be marketable for the demographic, for the culture, and that's it. You know what I mean? That's why Zhang Weili, it sucks to say this, but she'll never be big in North America. Am I lying, Drake?
I don't want to say never. I think that she definitely can be, and especially with her improved English and her exciting fight style. The problem is the whole entire problem with Whaley compared to pretty much everyone we've mentioned so far is the fact that she lives far away, but more so it's the fact that especially right now, the short-term memory that people have in MMA. So what have you done for me lately? Whether it's speaking or fighting. And unfortunately, it has almost been an entire year since we've seen Weili compete. And she's just been minding her own business, doing her thing in China, not really saying much of anything outside of that bubble. So unless she gets more active and we hear from her more often, it's going to take longer. But I'm not going to say never on it because of this aura that she has already created and, continuing to improve her English, as I said. So I think there's a avenue to it, but the big thing for her is she just has to get out there at all in any capacity, which has not been the case at the moment.
All right. Jimmy is defending himself here, saying he didn't mention role model potential, just the amount of sponsors. Yeah, look, Whaley's got a lot of sponsors in China, and she's obviously already rich, I think. And like we said earlier, I don't think she'll be jealous of anyone, and she's going to have a great career in and outside the cage. Uh, we normally do an hour and a half, but we've gone 152. I mean, I'm loving it. It's the first one I've done in a couple of weeks. I'm happy to hang around a few more minutes.
Let's keep going. Let's keep
Okay.
going.
Just shout either of you if you need to leave or whatever. But I'm having
Well,
fun.
Well, with the role model thing, like with the amount of sponsors, we don't know exactly. Like Jimmy, he mentioned all the sponsors in China, and most people don't know that, right? But in China, yeah. But the thing is, like China's so closed off. Even for me, I live like right next to China. Nick, he lives in Hong Kong, which is basically China, but don't get angry
China.
about that. And
You're not allowed to say that.
yeah, but the thing is, like,
visited.
we don't know what's going on over there, right? So her being marketable in that market has nothing to do with the US, nothing to do with North America, nothing to do with Europe. It has nothing to do with it, man. Like Gegard Mousasi was sponsored by Mercedes-Benz in Europe, but that doesn't mean anything about the US. Like there's a totally different market you can be sponsored by. So it just depends on the culture. And I feel like Weili, Drake he's more optimistic, but at the end of the day, she can learn all the English she wants. She's never going to be to the level of like some of these fighters where they could just post something and it's going to get like 50,000 retweets and 1 million likes. And, like there's certain fighters that can do that. They're not even champions, but I don't think Weili will ever get to that point. I'm just being real. I'm just being like, this is what I think.
Some of those fighters who do that, they have maybe the opponents to bounce off of and do that, and the rivalries. Maybe Weili needs some kind of like another dance partner to get to that level. Is that a fair comment? I mean, the Joanna rematch would be big, and Joanna talked a little trash, didn't she? Weili shut her up a little bit.
But the thing is, Joanna created the hype though around that fight. Like Joanna was the one that was marketable. That shows you right there. Joanna was the one that was marketable. She was putting herself out there. So, she's 1,000% confident in her skills to beat Weili, right? So it doesn't take much to create some hype around it like Joanna did. And Joanna was doing a great job, I thought, man. I thought that people were giving her too much shit for kind of just speaking her mind, like she's going to speak her mind. Weili, she said, shut up, and everybody's like going crazy, right? But really, what if Weili could talk back and talk trash back to Joanna? I feel like that fight could have been built up even bigger than it was. You know what I mean? It was a one-sided thing. It was like when Chael was hyping up the fight against Anderson Silva. Anderson Silva didn't do anything. He just sat there and smiled and like gave a little smirk. Chael did everything.
Weili is just, she's a good person. She's got a good heart, and she didn't like when Joanna made that Instagram post with the hazmat suits, I think, or the gas masks. This was right when the pandemic, still people thought it was only in China, right? It was not going to affect them. She wouldn't be making that joke now. You know, the amount of people who would have died in Poland and got this disease. It was.
I don't think that was malicious, though. I don't think
it wasn't malicious, but
I thought she probably thought it was actually kind of funny, and then that's why she posted it.
Yeah, but all I'm saying is Weili went into that fight as, I'm gonna shut the bully up. You know, and that's the kind of character she is. You're not going to see a trash talk.
I wish she would have said that, like leading up to the fight. You know, I wish she would have said that in English, like asked her English teacher. Like, I wish I was Weili's English teacher, and she asked me, like, what do I say back to Joanna, or what do I say back to my opponent if they say this? And I'd be like, all right, this is what you say. I'm gonna smash that mouth that she uses to talk. You know, like, you could create so much, you know, without being too disrespectful, right? You just be confident in your skills.
Who knows, man? She might be like completely ripping everyone on Chinese.
Exactly. You never. That's another thing, is we don't know if she's like how she is really. Like, she could be one of the funniest people we've ever met. We just don't know, because we don't ever really see her like in that like podcast or that kind of like that comfortable environment to let her speak.
She's awesome. She really is a great personality, and it's a shame that people haven't gotten to see more of it. But if you do some digging, and you know, speaking of the translator, you know, I spoke to him as well. Shameless plug. You can check that out on my channel, Ramiz Atik, and he's got plenty of videos, you know, from his journey teaching her English, which are super cool, in depth, like into her life a little bit, and going through, like, that was ahead of the Joanna training camp, so he was in recording all that stuff, and you get to see like just who she is a little bit better than if the UFC is making these high packages and all that stuff. And, you know, I've also spoken to her before as well. So it's a shame, you know, that more people don't get to see her. And from what we have seen, man, I disagree with you a little bit about it being all one-sided for that fight with Joanna, because that matchup itself kind of sold itself. And we had this brand new champion, this person who was making history from their country. Like, I think that was arguably just as big of a deal compared to, because we'd seen Joanna fight for the title already. People were kind of meh about that idea, but they loved the matchup. You know, her getting a title shot was like, I don't know about this. But since it was this very interesting new champion that just emerged on the scene, she'd won by winning in 42 seconds in her hometown, like, not hometown, but home country. Like, that was a big thing, a new thing. We love new in MMA. We love crowning new GOATs every week. You know, Weili was that shiny new toy right when she won the title. And of course, this has died down because of her not fighting too recently. But I think the buzz was pretty equal from both sides there. And it'll be very interesting to see, once she hopefully gets this Rose fight, you know, made, or against whoever, to see where the excitement level falls. Like, absence makes the heart grow fonder, generally. But in MMA, people forget about you, and things don't really heat up until things get closer after a while, like it's been with Weili. So there's plenty to talk about it. So and you see, people are interested by asking us every week. I get asked about Weili every single week on my shows, and like here we're talking in depth about her. So people are very interested in, you know, intrigued by just the whole thing going on with her in the strawweight division.
Arthur, he also makes a good point that right now being Chinese is not like the it race right now, you know.
Well, you know, here we go.
I'm just saying it's not like the it race, you know, like it's not like the it like thing to be right now is Chinese, just because of the whole pandemic situation. And there's still people that hate Chinese people for the pandemic, and it's just like, okay.
There's a lot of racist hate towards Asian Americans, especially right in America right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of attacks going on right now in North America and Canada and the US on Asian people, especially Asian elderly. which is just like the most cowardice thing you could do is go attack some elderly person, no matter what race they are. But there's people out there that are doing it like all the time. There has been people elderly that have died in the past couple of weeks because of that. And it goes back to, the whole, it goes back to Ariel Helwani, man. Why do we always go back? We're like Dana White. We just go back to Ariel Helwani all the time. But it goes back to that and the whole like him being Jewish and people saying things in the media and there's a very thin line. And you know who rides that line the best is Colby Covington. This guy rides that line so tight. And the thing is, he says it so crazy. Some of the craziest things that people just now it's just to the point where people don't care anymore. Do you think it is to that point where, yeah, Colby Covington is like the polar opposite of what Zhang Weili stands for, right? And a lot of people are stupid out there, and they want to support that stupidity all the time, and that's the answer right there. People support stupidity more than they support something that's legit, right? And that's just how it is. There's more dumb people in the world than smart people. There's more idiots than people with common sense. And that's how it is. That's life. That's every sport. And some of us have our idiotic moments and some of us had our good common sense moments, but it is what it is. That's how it works.
I think John makes a good point as well in the comments here, saying Weili needs a Pacquiao-esque performance to break into the US market culturally. So that's really, really unlikely. Yeah, I mean,
she needs a Max Holloway type of performance. Like coming off that fight of the year, like that she had with the greatest fight in women's MMA history. She's coming off of that. If she comes in and takes on Rose and has like the Max Holloway type of performance, like a 5-round domination on the feet, then I think that could help her a lot in propelling her profile in North America. And what if she did the whole like no look talking shit to the commentators thing, like who's the best boxer in the MMA, right? Like what if she did that, like something to kind of like mock another fighter, but at the same time kind of make it look cool at the same time. I don't know. I just think that she we haven't seen that moment from her yet. You know what I mean? A lot of people probably
like my point. I don't think there's an opponent out there she can beat and then go and take that shine off that. Like say there's not the Oscar De La Hoya, that level of person for her to go and there's not the Ronda Rousey name to snatch that Holly Holm did. There's not. I don't know.
How dare you disrespect Xiaonan?
Yeah, I think Joanna was probably the biggest name.
Yeah, and she's already lost.
She already lost to her, right? And it was I thought it was like a very close fight. It could have went either way. You know what I mean? It's not like she completely dominated. Imagine if Weili went out there and completely dominated Joanna like Max did to Cater. Then that could have been something that they could have used to kind of propel her. But she still has a chance to do that, man. It doesn't, like Nick is right. There is no name out there. The biggest name right now is Rose Namajunas, right? And she's not even like the biggest name. I still feel Joanna is the biggest name in that division. But yeah, that's why I think Dana White is pushing for Weili to go up to 125 and fight Shevchenko, is because Weili needs that type of opponent, that type of moment. And if she can go up and beat Shevchenko, that actually works out more for the UFC and their plans to go into Asia a little bit more and get deeper into China, because man, that's a massive fight right there.
Even Shevchenko, it's still not that name, that Rousey. That's
no, of course not.
Culture icon. If Weili went and beat someone like that, then I think you're gonna get her.
Miley Cyrus crossover fight. I think that's the one right there. They could, and what is it? Weili can walk out to what's that song by Miley Cyrus's father? Achy Breaky Heart. If you even know Billy Ray Cyrus, Achy Breaky Heart, that would be a big dig. But that's the biggest fight to make right now. We just put it out there. Miley Cyrus versus Zhang Weili in a stadium in China. And then she could have a concert afterwards. Why not?
What Phantom saying, what doesn't make sense is one using Zhang to promote Meng Bo as this killer. Yeah, I think Meng Bo gets annoyed though when everyone asks her about Zhang
Number
Weili.
one, Meng Bo is a killer. Number two, there's nothing wrong with one using Zhang Weili to promote
That's
their
smart
fighter.
of them.
Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do.
But
Yeah.
at the same time, yes, Nick, you are correct, because I did speak with Meng recently, and I asked her straight up, does it get annoying? She's like, yes, it does get very annoying. But at the same time, it is an honor to always be mentioned, against to somebody who is so great. Um, so yeah, no, in terms of business strategy, it's very smart. But Meng Bo is a killer in her own right without that victory, and yeah, it's like, why wouldn't you do that? You don't want to. I don't think you want to center that entirely around the case, around that situation, because you don't have to, right? She's on a 7-fight winning streak. She's got some very good finishes to her name already, and is one of your best fighters in that division. So um, it would be dumb of them not to at least mention it. I get maybe not promoting it entirely, but why wouldn't you? It's like there's a similar case here that I'm not thinking of, but we've seen that kind of thing used before, and it's
Pitbull
just
right
it's just,
now. Pitbull,
right. Yeah,
imagine when
yeah.
he
There you go.
fights. They always upload something about Chandler getting knocked out by
Yeah,
Pitbull.
like on the same
It's
day.
just it's like on the same day, or they're gonna be like, oh, flashback. It's not even Friday, it's like flashback Saturday morning. Like it is Pitbull knocking out Michael Chandler. So you have to do that. If you're a promotion, if you have something that you can use to make your promotion look better than their promotion, you're gonna do it, man. It's just natural.
Someone was asking, I think it was Arthur, about this Grand Prix. There were a couple questions about it. He's saying, how does Seo Hee stack up against the atomweights in one? Should Ayaka Hamasaki go over the one championship? Yeah, so they just announced she's gonna fight, right?
Hamas?
No, it's not.
Hamasaki and
Hamasaki.
Asakura too.
7, right?
All right. Well, for the first question, how does she stack up against the other people in the Atomweight Grand Prix? If there's even a Grand Prix happening, I feel like it's not going to happen. I feel like it's not going to happen. If it does, it's going to be like way after we're even lost interest in it. But if Ham steps in there, she's the number one, I think, like automatically, just look at her resume and you should not even have an argument, right? Ayaka Hamasaki, she's probably never going to go to one championship. If she does, it'll probably be like, I don't think she will, because I think like she's really zoned in on carrying that Ryzen title and just defending that title and maybe retiring. I think she's going to end up, if she could beat, I think if she could beat a couple more fighters in Japan, she'll end up retiring with the belt. You know what I mean? I think that could be a possibility with Ryzen. But I don't see her slowing down anytime soon. But I could see her, like, if she continues to run the table and beat everybody, she could retire with Ryzen. But her in one championship, it's gonna be hard, man. It's gonna be hard. So, what do you think, Drake?
First of all, I want to say thank you, Arthur, for the comment about saying I'm your go-to for Asian WMA. That means a lot, sir. I really appreciate that. And I'm sorry for letting you down on the earlier question. That's why I wanted to bring that up. That means a lot, though. I appreciate it. As for this question and Ayaka in one championship, I think no chance at all. Of course, there's always a chance, right? As Jim Carrey would say in Dumb and Dumber. But she's gonna retire in Ryzen. I think we could see maybe 2 or 3, including this Asakura rematch next. 2 or 3 for Ayaka, and then she could retire, because you think about it, for her, yeah, man, she's only getting better in these late stages of her career, which is incredible. She's looking better than ever, but she's pretty much fought and beat everybody now that she possibly can, except for Rena, who she's very close with, and that would be a retirement situation for either Hamasaki or Rena. And then the other caveat there would be she does want to get the win back over Seo Hee, which means if she's to go to one, it is strictly to fight Seo Hee for a 4th time, which I wouldn't at all be mad about. But that's the only reason that would happen, I think. And I think that she's probably at peace with it now, just considering she got the title back. And if she finishes out this run on top without losing, which I think is gonna happen, I cannot see anybody not named Seo Hee beating Ayaka Hamasaki at this stage. So Yeah, I would be very shocked if she doesn't retire with Ryzen and with before 2023. And that might even be generous. I could see it happening maybe this next New Year's. And Seo Hee in the one atomweight division, yeah, she's automatically number one, no question about it, no debate. If you know anything about Seo Hee and been following her, it's just undeniable. And it'll be very curious to see if one, represents her that way, treats her with that respect, which I have trouble seeing them do it just because they want their roster to seem strong always, right? And the newcomer's coming in, they're gonna treat her leapfrogging everybody. I don't see it, but we know she's the best, and of course it'll be up 10 pounds back at the traditional weight. But yeah, Hamasaki, Ham should 100% be the favorite, even regardless of the weight change. So yeah.
Word on the street, is Ham is having problems, man. I feel like there's some. It's not about wanting to fight for a championship. I feel like there's some kind of like backdoor legal issues or some kind of contractual issues that's holding it up. And it's probably been holding it up for the last couple of months since we first talked about it. If they don't sign Ham, I don't see them having a Grand Prix. And if they do have it, it's not going to be as great as we all expected it to be. I don't think we'll see that. I think you do need to have Ham and like two more fighters from outside of one championship that have good records, that are former champions. Because one championship, they're all about champions, right? Every champion is a champion.
Right.
That's what they said, right? Tonight we have
champion Sage.
50,000. We have 50,000 champions competing tonight on one. Yeah, it's just you know how it works. But yeah, like with Ham, I think everything hangs in the balance of her signing with one championship, and if she doesn't do it, I don't see the Grand Prix happening. If she does, we'll see. Right when everything gets figured out, we'll see an announcement. So Nick is over there trying to blend in, trying to blend into the background, trying to be Mr. Invisible.
I should wear the yellow T-shirt. I've got it here, and then you just have my head floating around. I'll try that next time. Someone
the comments are so generous.
They're loving
Appreciate you guys.
Yeah. So I saw Drake's interview with Shiming. If Weili gets to that level of English, do you think the UFC will push her more?
Yeah. We pretty much kind of covered it already. I like that you're throwing the shout to Shiming there. That was a very fun discussion. I don't want to say that Weili's English is to the level of Shiming's just yet, because hers is very good, and of course she didn't think it was that great. But Weili's English has improved a whole lot during this time. Since she hasn't been fighting. I don't know if you guys saw she did like a TED Talk in China a couple months ago. I think it was towards the end of the year, but full English, and it was like a scripted. You could tell she was reading like off the prompter, but then talked to some guy afterward. But her English has gotten good enough to where she can read and then speak it out. So that's just a good indicator of how good it's getting. And will it help the UFC push her? I mean, they push her already, when she's around. So I of course that helps a whole lot, as we've said, but she just needs to be around more. That's the problem. We need more Zhang Weili in our lives. That's the problem. But thank you for the love, Jimmy, and who was it, Z, for checking that one out. I love that chat. Shiming is awesome. Keep an eye out for her. Yeah,
Jimmy thinks Weili can be McGregor or Rousey type. Dana said that after UFC 248.
See, that's a bit bold, though.
Well, there's only ever been two of those, and that's Conor McGregor and Ronda Rousey. I don't think anyone else has reached their level of fame, fan interest, money, maybe money, but
well, Dana White also called Ariel Helwani a douche, so can't believe everything Dana White says. He always says something after post-fight that is not real. It's not true. It's just random opinions. And yeah, it's like going back earlier. Alexa Grasso was the Ronda Rousey of Mexico. Come on, he says stuff like that, so it's just hard to believe anything. I understand what he was trying to.
One championship says Christian Lee's the best in the world, and he could beat Khabib and Conor and all this. He says it himself. It's part of the game, isn't it?
It is. It's called promotion.
Called promotion, guys. and maybe she will get that level. We'll see. Like Drake says, there's always a
Yeah.
chance. He was quoting Jim Carrey, I
I
think.
hope she does. I hope she does. Right? Hope for the best. Prepare for the worst.
Let's see
There
what
you
happens.
go.
I think we're about running out. There was Kyoji Horiguchi or Juan Archuleta or Sergio Pettis. Because Archuleta's going to fight Sergio Pettis, I think, right? In this first big Showtime card, is that right for Bellator?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
That's the last one actually on the current lineup.
yeah, I think it's like the
Fourth
April,
event.
right? April or
Yeah,
something like that.
end of April one. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think Horiguchi beats both these guys.
Yep.
Like,
Agreed.
pretty easily.
Okay. Yeah, that's about it, I guess. We should wrap up maybe. It's 2 hours,
Yeah.
15 minutes. We've gone longer than we ever normally do.
Yeah.
But only because there are so many great questions and lots of
Well, a
lovely.
big show for Nick's return. That's what it is, you guys. It had nothing to do with you. We're doing this for the man. And Pickle Nick is back.
Pickle Nick.
I'll tell you what, it's been really fun. I haven't done it for a couple of weeks, and doing it in the office as well, a nice change of pace. I was forced to this because I do not have internet at home.
Right.
You guys know why, but I won't get into that here. But yes, so I come to the office for the first time in, honestly, it's been about 7 months since I came here. I think the last time I came here was Masvidal versus Usman, July. I covered that card, and then we've just had a couple more outbreaks here in Hong Kong since then, and lockdowns and things. And there's only so long where you can't. I used to never want to come to the office. I was like, oh, working at home, that's great. Now I'll never want to work at home again. I'm so sick of it. A year now, because in Hong Kong we were first to get it all after the initial outbreak in China. It came to Hong Kong around January, February. So it's been about a year since we've had these restrictions. So I'm back in the office. Got the PFL swag. We'll try and get some other swag, so it's not just PFL related. But I've got my hat too. Shout out to Lauren Mack for hooking me up with all this.
Where's the Fanatic swag, Nick? Come on, man.
Yeah, I'll get some Fanatic swag. I'll get some SCMP MMA swag. But as I said earlier, if I wear those yellow t-shirts, you're just gonna see my head bobbing around a bit if I do this background. We'll get some gear. I'll get some One Championship gear, some UFC gear. I'll probably have to buy that myself. So yeah, maybe not. I've got some One t-shirts. It looks like black's a good color for the yellow background. So I'll have a root around in the cupboard. But it's been great to chat to both of you guys. Drake, what do you got coming up? Where can everyone find you? Give us some plugs.
Of course, always happy to give out the plugs. At @DrakeRiggs_ on Twitter, on Instagram, everything you can find on Twitter recently. Of course, today just dropped that Victoria Lee discussion that we had. Good, fun stuff there. You can find that on mymnews.com, the video on my YouTube channel. It's also in the article, the story. It's always how we do it. That is up. Now you can find that is on my Twitter. Also spoke to Meng Bo recently, as I mentioned earlier. The Marina Rodriguez one, of course, is here on SCMP MMA. You can check that out. Fantastic stuff. Marina is awesome, you guys. I think that one helped really show kind of the charisma and personality that she has as well. So if you have not seen that, check it out. The number 6 ranked strawweight looking to fight, maybe Yan Jiaonan or Joanna. Who doesn't want to see one of those matchups? Good stuff there. Check that one out here on the channel. And then, let's see. I also spoke to Julie Kedzie. That is a part of a much bigger thing. We'll keep secret, but I did 10 Stupid Questions with her, which is also on my channel. You can check that out. And some things lined up that haven't happened yet, so I'm not going to say who they are, but I have more coming.
Yeah. Looks like we might be able to get Drake over to UFC 259 for us. We're hoping we're going to get Drake down there. It's all in the works. So Drake hopefully be on the ground to do a bit of stuff.
That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful.
Yeah,
first time I'm hearing that.
Yeah, it's I've been inquiring about it. Drake's the one who put the idea to me, and I thought
at the Apex.
Yep.
All right, good.
It's only
man.
2-hour flight.
2-hour flight. You get in that bubble, get your work done, represent. That's what it's about.
And hopefully it lays the groundwork for some more opportunities for all of our guys to get on the ground at some shows as well. And
definitely,
Drake,
maybe we'll get 261 also.
Yeah,
there we go.
Or you can bet John and I will get over there. I think it's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a
Well,
while since I was at a show, but
it's perfect for Drake to get over there and get our name out there, during the press conferences and all of that, man. You got to ask questions. You got to stand up and be like,
Always.
Dana White,
wearing
is Ariel a douche? Yes or no? Like simple questions like that. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes or no.
Everybody think like I'm hating on Ariel. I'm not, man. It's just funny that he just calls him a douche like out of nowhere. It's just ridiculous to me. But anyways, I want to promote some of my stuff.
Yes.
All right, now, yes, I have a podcast. I have a live chat on Wednesday night, 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern time. This week I'll have a coach, Douglas Fry, who is the husband of Jinyu Fry, who is a UFC strawweight. I'll have him on, talk about WMMA a little bit, and just talk to him just randomly. He's a good guy to talk to because he's not only a coach, he's also a nutritionist. So you can ask him all kinds of things. So that's coming this week. Probably have Nick on there with his. He looks like Samson for some reason. I don't know why. But I have Nick with his Samson, and that's what's good about being a journalist for you, right, Nick? You don't have to worry about having your hair cut a certain way, or it's pretty good.
I walk around here in the office in flip flops and shorts.
See, that's the dream.
But they don't really like that. I think I've been subtly reprimanded before. I'm wearing jeans today. I made an effort, but when it gets a little hotter, you're gonna see those toes coming out again on those sandals. It's tough going anywhere in the heat in Hong Kong. So
nasty. But anyways, I just wanted to get a bunch. I have a bunch of interviews for this weekend's upcoming card. I got Shanna Dobson. I have what is it? Her opponent, Casey O'Neill. I have Jared Gordon. His opponent, Danny Chavez. I also have a recent interview that I just put up with Kay Hansen. She's like one of the real true prospects of that strawweight division. I think she's gonna do big things. So go check that out. We talk for a good 20-something minutes. It's pretty good. Dustin Jacoby, I got an interview with him. Jairzinho Rosenstrike. I got a pretty good chat in with Brendan Fitzgerald, who is part of the UFC commentary team. We talked about the Mexico City thing and a bunch of other stuff. Jared Vandera. Who else? Derek Minner, Randy Brown. A bunch of stuff that I'm working on writing. And this week I'll have a UFC champion. Most likely I'll get that done tonight. They interview and then get that out. It's one of the champions from 259 actually.
Yeah, big things in the works. Sorry, not the work. And I did tweet about it, but I want to say it here as well. Thank you to John. He held the fort down while I was off with my abdomen pain, and I took a bit of time off. John put out some great content on the YouTube channel. Thanks again to him, and thanks to Drake for the Marino Rodriguez. And I'm back, baby. I'm gonna have Victoria Lee tomorrow. Let's get these interviews going. And a lot of cool things in the works for SCMP MMA and Fanatics. I got to get a plug out for Fanatics, of course. Go to this link, guys. If you haven't already, you got to join our group, SCMP MMA group on Fanatics. Go to the App Store, or you can go to getfanatics.app. The link is in the scrolling bar there and in the description. Come join our group. You make your picks for every fight card, UFC, One Championship, Bellator, what have you. You go up against us. You compete against us. There's a chat group, all the banter. It's really fun. We got over 100 people in our group now, which is really cool to see. It's just growing and growing and growing. We have we're sorting out a sponsorship agreement with Fanatics. They're a Hong Kong-based company. Really great guys. Some exciting things, like I said, in the works with them. Hoping to launch a new SCMP MMA website, so to speak, its own page. They're going to be hopefully sponsoring that. A lot of cool things in the works. I can't really say anymore, but Fanatics, if you haven't got it, Drake, what can they do?
Oh man, you can go download the app. You can see all the fighters' records. You can see the Vegas odds. It's got pretty much everything you want to see if you want to bet, pick fights, just know about the fights in general. You can get it. You don't even have to play, man. You just have it all right at your disposal, at your fingertips. All the info, the stats that you could ever want about the UFC fighters, the one fighters, and I think there's going to be more coming besides those two promotions as well. But it's
we do
doing
these
yourself a disservice if you don't have fanatics.
exactly. Every Thursday or so, before the shows, we'll go through all the fights with the app, and Drake and I and Chris will make our picks on air using the app. So if you don't know how it works, just tune in for our preview later this week. We'll show you what the deal is. Final thing, I guess, Drake. Yeah, you get
Yes.
over to the Apex, you're gonna have to ask about this Singapore card. Huh?
Guaranteed. I promised you guys I will get the Singapore questions answered to the bottom of it. I thought about that as soon as we were wondering earlier today. So I will figure it out.
Yeah, Drake has a
Thank you,
great
John.
Says John. I think
Appreciate
Drake
that.
and John both have a great voice. I've said this before. Was that a sitcom on Nickelodeon?
Drake and Josh.
Okay, yeah. We need to find someone.
Wasn't it Jake and Drake?
Oh, no.
I swear there was one called Jake and Drake.
Well,
No.
Well,
thanks again, guys. Yeah, check out John's stuff on the channel. He's had a bunch of great interviews. He's gonna have some articles coming up. He's already sent me one. I need to go do that as soon as this ends. Do my day job of editing and all that. This is just a bit of fun. But yeah, it's been great. Drake, John, I really appreciate you giving me the time today. It's been a long show, so let's end it there. And yeah, we'll see you all later, guys. Thanks for watching, commenting, liking, subscribe, do all that stuff. We'll see you again next time.
smoochies boochies.
What is that? Send off. Yeah.